jail officials with dire consequences. Satyendra Jain, remember, is in Tihar jail in connection with a money laundering case since 31st of May, and the Tihar jail officials have alleged that he sternly warned the jail authorities, saying that he will not spare anyone, be it a serving or a retired official. The Tihar jail AIG, prison superintendent of jail Radesh Chaudhary, the deputy superintendent, the assistant superintendent as well as the law officer of Tihar jail have complained to the DG of prisons that the jailed minister has been abusing and threatening them. In their complaint on 8th of December, they've said that they don't want to serve the show cause notice to Satyendra Jain. In fact, we'll keep getting you more updates on this big story of VVIP arrogance even behind bars. But with that, we're going to be wrapping up News Pulse. I'm going to hand it over to our editor-in-chief Rahul Shivshankar for India Upfront.
Thanks indeed, Meghna. Yes, viewers, as usual, the biggest stories of the day on this show. Viewers, our first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, was such a modernist that when India won freedom, he chose to address the nation in English. Indeed, he could have picked any number of great Indian languages to utter the most epical words a liberated people that are proud of their culture could ever hope to hear in their lifetimes. But no, viewers, he chose English. There's no doubt that Nehru's Tryst with Destiny speech was the most evocative and inspiring bit of speech making. But how much sense would it have made to the masses of India that had no access to the English language is anyone's guess. The only people who were left perhaps comprehending its sweep were the Lutyens set. It's not surprising, it's not at all surprising then that a senior leader of the Congress party harbors disdain for saffron, a civilizational symbol of India's, of Bharat's Shakti. The color is one of four that adorns the national flag. In his zeal to uphold Nehru's modernism, ex-Congress MP, yes viewers, believe it or not, Hussain Dalwai, chose to mock Yogi Adityanath for wearing traditional saffron robes at an investors summit. Now I know that a lot of you might think that Yogi Adityanath is some sort of a anachronism, that he is wearing religious colors when he holds an executive office. Viewers, there are many, of course, who have been traditionally turned out when they have held office. Many who have sported their religious colors or symbols when in office. But, viewers, listen in first to Mr. Dalwai. Listen in to how he, in a very elite manner, suggests that saffron, he doesn't focus on the religious aspect at all, that the color saffron is so retrograde, is so conveying of regression, that business that is progressive and businessmen that are progressive will not be attracted to the personage of Yogi Adityanath or his appeal for investing in Uttar Pradesh. Listen in, viewers, yourself to this.
त्यासाठी रोज काही धर्माच्या आणि ह्याच्या गोष्टी करण्याऐवजी आणि भगवे कपडे घालून फिरण्याऐवजी जरा मॉडर्न व्हा.
Be modern. Get rid of your saffron robes. Clearly, Mr. Dalwai believes that elements of Bharatiya culture are a liability for the nation. Has he forgotten Mahatma Gandhi, who wore vestments that were totally at odds with the Western outlook and celebrated the richness of Swadeshi? Clearly, Dalwai and the Congress that has so far not distanced itself from Dalwai's saffron phobia believes that great Indian icons like Swami Vivekananda are also retrograde. Didn't, after all, the great Swami wear saffron robes. In fact, Swami Vivekananda, who wore his cultural identity on his personage, clad in saffron robes, electrified the world. In Chicago in 1893, just look at those pictures of Swami Vivekananda. Let's, Sharif Bhai, show them to the world. That is Swami Vivekananda. And if we just dig on YouTube, we will be able to even find those visuals of him addressing that august gathering, that parliament of religions, viewers, in 1893. He was addressing a totally English-speaking audience, or perhaps a largely, let me just put it, non-Indian languages speaking audience. Swamiji emerged as the greatest ambassador for India's culture. His words stirred the youth, not just of this country, but of the world. And the youth, viewers, are always open to progressiveness. So clearly, they embraced the Swami as an icon of progressiveness. Till date, his words so energized the youth that National Youth Day is held to commemorate his ideas annually. Saffron clothes don't make a person's ideas regressive. The Congress party should realize that. And so-called modern Western clothes don't make people who wear them progressive. Consider the example of Rajiv Gandhi, who reversed the Supreme Court's progressive and reformist judgment on Shah Bano, and then even moved to clandestinely limit the ambit of free speech in this country, which is a liberal, progressive, modern idea. Viewers, this is the Congress party and its Lutyens' mindset. And nothing more exemplifies it than Dalwai's condemn-worthy, entitled, and most importantly, derisive, looking down upon Bhartiyata. Naturally, smarting from the jibe, the BJP has fired a massive broadside. Listen into some of those comments.
Time and again, Hindu आस्था का करो अपमान ताकि चले वोट बैंक की दुकान. This is the same Congress party which said Hindu terror, saffron terror, Hindutva is like ISIS, Gita ji mein jihad hai. Rahul Gandhi must tell us, because he claims to be a Janudhari Hindu, does he stand with these anti-Hindu comments of Hussain Dalwai, or will the Congress party take action on Hussain Dalwai and sack him?
क्या ये बयान देश के साधु संतों का, भगवा पहनने वाले हमारे पूजनीय वंदनीय संतों का अपमान नहीं है? कांग्रेस दल और उनके नेताओं को क्या हो गया है? भगवे रंग से इन्हें क्या आपत्ति है? चुनाव समीप आते हैं, उन्हें हिंदू धर्म की याद आती है, और चुनाव निकल जाते हैं, उनका असली हिंदू विरोधी चेहरा देश के सामने आता है.
तो कांग्रेस के जो नेता दलवई हैं, ये पहले अपने वेशभूषा के बारे में ध्यान देना चाहिए. जो टोपी लगाते हैं, बाकी जो इनका वस्त्र है, जो पैजामा ऊपर करके पहनते हैं, उनको जो है भगवा के बारे में बोलने का कोई अधिकार, राइट नहीं है, खासकर हमारे प्रिय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के लिए. इसका मैं घोर विरोध करता हूं और निंदा करता हूं.
Now viewers, it's not just the BJP that has taken up cudgels on behalf of those that patronize saffron, but several members of the public. And at the receiving end of the blowback, Congress is now trying to distance itself, but has not yet till now condemned Dalwai's elitist Lutyens mentality. Just watch. We tried to put a microphone to some of the Congress leaders, and they were just not forthcoming. Watch this.
हुसैन दलवाई मेरे साथ राज्यसभा में सदस्य रह चुके हैं और बोल लेते हैं. मैं हमेशा जो बोलते हैं गंभीरता से नहीं लेता हूँ.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार ने अगर कानून व्यवस्था, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, सड़क, पानी, बिजली सही करी होती तो उत्तर प्रदेश के मुख्यमंत्री को निवेश के लिए दर दर नहीं भटकना होता और ऑस्टिन जैसी फ्रॉड यूनिवर्सिटियों से एमओयू नहीं साइन करने पड़ते.
There you go, viewers. But let me tell you, despite his saffron vestments, Uttar Pradesh has been able to attract investment. Invest India government website states that it's the #1 state in India's smart city mission. Good Governance Index of 2021 suggests that #1 in commerce and industries. Viewers, it's a leader in state startup ranking 2021. This is startupindia.govern.in. UP has received over 1,88,000 crore investments since 2018. These are all hard facts, verifiable. Just go to all these websites, look them up. This is the Infra and Industrial Development Commissioner putting this out. Investment proposals worth 7,12,288 crores from 16 countries. This has been put out by the UP government. Surely they wouldn't be lying to the tax-paying public, viewers. And this therefore brings me to ask some basic questions tonight. And let me begin first with Detain Poonawalla, Congress party sympathizer, a key member of the entire ecosystem that supports the Congress party. Now, Detain Poonawalla, the national symbol, the national flag, sports saffron, is our tricolor a living symbol of regression? Mr. Poonawalla.
Absolutely not. It's a symbol of our sacrifice, which the BJP and the political forefathers were not involved with. It's a tricolor has been called evil by the political forefathers of Adityanath ji, and they said that this tricolor should not be acceptable. But for me, the tricolor means everything. It's in my blood. It's in my veins.
So as Hussain Dalwai, where he equates Bharat's symbol of Shakti, one of the colors that adorn the tricolor, to a liability. Do you think he's right? And do you think the congressman today, including the chief spokesperson and the head of the media cell of the Congress party that delights in going after the media and being pejorative, which is in any case a regressive mindset, because it suggests there is anti-free speech, do you think by not condemning him, the Congress is subscribing to this outlook? It's a very simple question, Mr. Poonawalla. Give me an honest answer tonight. Why would they not be condemning Hussain Dalwai for equating saffron with regression, with an outdatedness?
Because I think Jairam Ramesh ji said it extremely articulated it very well.
Right.
He said that don't take it seriously, and I don't think Hussain Dalwai should be taken seriously. That he merits an entire conversation what's happening in our country over a statement he perhaps made. But I agree with one part that you said, that Congress needs to get its foot out of the mouth. It cannot keep scoring self-votes. There are many reasons why.
So do all the useless people like carbuncles grace the Congress party, and they are tolerated? Why have barnacles? Why have barnacles sticking to a ship that is already leaky? I mean, makes no sense to me. Detain Poonawalla, tell me, why would you even continue with this joke and not turn around and say, Mr. Hussain Dalwai, you have been completely out of line?
Well, like I said, there is much to criticize Adityanath ji for his views on homosexuality, which he thinks is criminal, for his views on women empowerment.
How does that relate to?
May I just make my point?
So 1 second. So you're saying you can, yes, sir, please criticize the individual, but not saffron.
I'm criticizing and I'm explaining something to you. Adityanath ji has said this, that women cannot be left alone, and if their energy is not channelized properly, it can turn unbridled energy can cause
So is he
damage.
saying this because he wears saffron?
Sir, you have to allow me I hear you. It has to be a conversation. If you keep interrupting me, I can't say that. And I want you viewers to know what this man who claims to be a saint, because I don't think he's a saint, has done. If any of us, honestly on this panel, whether from the BJP, the Congress, or you yourself, Rahul, were on a stage where a colleague of yours and a colleague of Adityanath ji made a statement that dead women of bodies should be removed and should be treated brutally. all of us would have got up and objected. As a member of parliament, he entertained that. You
Mr.
call that
Poonawala,
man being saintly?
Mr.
You call that man being saintly?
I have said so
This man,
that I have
this
not.
man
One
has had
second,
hate speeches
please listen
against
to
him.
me,
This
Mr.
man has
Poonawala.
hate speeches against him.
No, one
right
second.
charges against him. No,
Mr.
I want you to
Poonawala,
hear, and I want your viewers to hear one.
Listen to me,
This man,
please.
the Honorable Chief Minister, has hate speeches and riot charges against him. And the Honorable Supreme Court had to step in and say these charges cannot be dropped, and he as Chief Minister wanted to drop charges against him. He said homosexuality is a crime and must be punished. This man is not saintly. Yes, he may be wearing clothes which we all respect, and that statement by Hussain Dalwai should not have been made. There is much to criticize Aditya Nachi.
So 1 second.
That, listen, he's a saint is unacceptable.
So 1
Saints
second.
don't make the statements he made, just like Pragya Thakur does not make the statements.
Okay, Tehseen Poonawala.
And I'll tell you one more thing, Rahul.
Okay, no, 1 second. Now I've listened to you
I'll tell
for
one
the
more
last
thing.
7 minutes. Now listen to me.
I'll tell you one
One
more
second.
thing.
No, one
This
second.
guy
1 second, please.
talks.
Don't force me into lowering people's fathers. I don't like it.
I don't want
Please,
to.
just listen. You've gone off on a tangent. You're entitled to. Stand on the
Tell me that
soapbox.
I'm actually wrong.
Stand on the soapbox. Take your bhoppu and go for it. But maintain a certain degree of decorum. I'm asking you a simple question. All this might be true. I've even criticized Mr. Yogi Adityanath in the past for saying things which were completely off color. But how does his wearing saffron garments affect his speech or what he says or his mindset? Is it because of that?
It does not.
So
And
then
therefore
why
it should
doesn't
not
the
have been
Congress party,
criticized.
why doesn't
And I think
the
that's
preacher
wrong.
of love, the preacher of love stand up for the sentiments of a large number of Hindus today that are upset, and not just Hindus, a lot of Indians. We all salute our tricolor. One of
Which
the
the
colors
BJP
is
did not.
saffron. Do you think every
Which
time
the
we look
BJP
at the
did not.
tricolor now we are going to have to think twice about whether it is regressive, a symbol of regression? Come on. Tehseen Poonawala, this man should be issued a show cause notice, should he not? And this is not the first time, let me tell you. The peculiar references to saffron have cropped up. Digvijay Singh, September 2019, wearing saffron, people have committed rape. Wearing saffron. People can commit rape wearing anything. Think about that, Tehseen Poonawala. Why only
Can I
saffron?
answer that?
No, let me say one
Can I
second.
answer
P.
that?
Chidambaram, ex-Home Minister, August 2010. At that time he was. Saffron terror implicated in many blasts. On one side you say terror has no religion. But here, saffron terror is prefixed. It's interesting. I don't understand. Hussain Dalwai, of course, says shun saffron, embrace the modern. So obviously there's a problem.
Can I just make one statement?
No, it's okay. Let me bring in
For
Dr.
Digvijay Singh? Allow me to make one
I don't.
statement. Just
Sir,
one
we've
statement.
gone around
For
this.
Digvijay Singh.
We've gone around
No,
this
you have
bush.
to fold your hands. We can have a decent
We've gone
conversation
around
folding
this
hands.
bush several times. I know what you're going to say. The viewer also knows. He's tired of listening to it. Let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan. Let's
Chalo.
have a conversation then. If you really want to, let's open it up to another point of view also. Perhaps another point of view. Dr. Ranganathan, what do you make of this comment? What do you make of the responses? What do you make of the Congress's inability to condemn Mr. Dalwai? What does it tell you?
Good evening, Rahul. Much as my good friend Tehseen would like you and others to believe, this is not happening in isolation. That is why you need to give me 2.5 minutes, because I need to
Agree.
expose this whole agenda. Because the Congress has a history of acute Hindu phobia and Hindu misia. Many of its leaders not only mock Yogi Adityanath wearing saffron, they deliberately call Yogi Adityanath as Ajay Besht, name that he renounced after he became a yogi in accordance with his Mutt and the Nath sect. But they never call the evangelist Mother Teresa by her real name of Anjes Gonjes Bojahu, do they? And this is just the tip of the iceberg. That is why I want to expose them. Remember the statement by Congress leader Jarkhi Holi that Hindu has a dirty meaning and Indians would be ashamed of it. And who did Rahul Gandhi meet, by the way, recently on his Bharat Jodo Yatra? Yes, the virulently anti-Hindu pastor George Punaiya, who told him Jesus is the real God, not Shakti. Then there is Shivraj Patil, who claimed Lord Krishna taught jihad to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Recall how Mahila Congress leader Lavanya Balal made a horrible Gau Mutra jibe, same as the Pulwama bomber. And then an alleged post by the Congress youth wing leader Shaukat Ali called Hinduism a terrorist religion, quote unquote. Recently, a Goa Congress leader Jalmi termed Hindu god Parasuram a terrorist and a rapist. Congress mouthpiece National Herald routinely publishes Hindu-phobic articles, including one where it said Hindu epics were replete with misogyny and Me Too instances. Remember, Congress leaders and Congress party itself celebrates Tipu Jayanti, despite knowing he demolished hundreds of temples and converted and butchered lakhs of Hindus. And who can forget that the phrase saffron terror was coined by the Congress and that it wanted to pass the communal violence bill, where only the majority, that is Hindus, would be held guilty in a communal riot. Remember how the Congress blamed the Hindu arrogance for 26/11 terror attack? Had Kasab not been caught alive, it is beyond doubt that the Congress would have fortified this theory. Then there was the Congress dispensation in 2004 that asked a Hindu Doordarshan anchor not to display his Hindu sacred symbol Kalava. Remember how Congress leaders publicly butchered a calf just to mock Hindu sensibilities in Kerala? Recall how time and again the Congress derides and insults and denigrates Hindutva, despite the fact that, quote, Hindutva means the Indian culture and not merely the Hindu religion, unquote. This was the famous conclusion of the Supreme Court back in 1995. And on the other hand, how many instances are there where the Congress has abused Islam or Islamic organizations? In fact, it demanded hanging of Kamlesh Tiwari for making a comment it considered Islamophobic, and its prominent leader fought against the banning of Simi. And remember how PM Manmohan Singh on the floor of our parliament demanded an apology from Denmark for prophet cartoons. Remember how Sonia Gandhi apologized to the Shahi Imam for Jama Masjid for the same thing. So we have to look at this not in isolation but in totality. And what do we see? Rampant and acute Hindu phobia by the Congress.
You forgot something, Dr. Ranganathan. Maybe Digvijay Singh embraced Zakir Naik because he also wore a suit and tie.
Well, Zakir Naik is
we
my
know,
crew, so I'm partial to him.
And we know that Zakir Naik is known for very radical and regressive views.
But those are not Zakir Naik's views. I don't need to go into that.
Well, Dr. Akashdeep Muni, let me bring you in. The BJP national spokesperson is also here with us, or Uttar Pradesh spokesperson, Dr. Kaushal Kant Mishra. Let me bring in Dr. Muni first. Dr. Muni, if Bhagwa is backward, regressive, then will you accept that Swami Vivekananda was backward and regressive? Is concern over investment in Uttar Pradesh just an excuse for attacking saffron, the color, to score a few political points? Dr. Muni.
See, Rahul, first and foremost, I totally don't think that Bhagwa is regressive. I totally don't think that. And the statement made by the Dalwaiji is totally wrong and idiotic, I must say. But one thing I want to bring in, what my dear friend Dr. Ranganathan was saying. Of course, there is a pattern. You know, we have seen Mr. Bhagat of Uttarakhand BJP, who was saying what he said about Goddess Saraswati. We know that, don't we? We know that the BJP then Vice President Dayashankarji, what he was saying about BSP Supremo. Wow, was that a Hindu statement? Was that equatable to a statement that has to be made? Now we are talking about Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda praised environment. Very nice. Very good. But what happened in Uttar Pradesh? You know, the National Green Tribunal has to slap 120 crore fine on Uttar Pradesh government because they have sent 55 million liters of untreated sewage into water.
Dr. Saab, how is that
condition of women? What is the condition of Dalit women in Uttar Pradesh? We know that. So my point is that it is not about Hinduism. It is a stray statement made by Congress a person.
But Dr. Saab, I gave you 14 examples. 14 examples, Dr. Saab, please.
I can give you 40 examples of BJP. I can give you 40 examples of BJP, what they are saying about Hinduism. I can give you that. You know, do you agree with Dayashankar, what Dayashankar ji said about BSP Supremo? Sir?
What did he say? You did not disclose what he said. You did not disclose what he said, so I don't know. Then how do I know? Then how do I know? How can I criticize something I don't know?
Don't you know what
Okay,
BJP?
let me get the BJP in. Let Dr. Kaushal Mishra, many doctors again on our panel, some are spin doctors, some believe in their craft. So, Dr. Mishra, please respond. Please respond to Dr. Muni and Tehseen Poonawala, who say that, look, the attack is not so much on Saffron, but it is on, in fact, Yogi Adityanath, who wears saffron to legitimize himself.
राहुल, इसमें मुझे कुछ नया नहीं लग रहा है कांग्रेस पे, क्योंकि कांग्रेस की स्थापना करने वाले जो थे वो खुद ही एओ ह्यूम थे, जो आप समझ सकते हैं कि भगवा के कितने अगेंस्ट थे। ठीक, और भगवा का विरोध करना, हिंदुत्व का विरोध करना कांग्रेस के डीएनए में है और वो हमेशा से करते चले आए हैं। और भगवा के बारे में आपने भी बताया कि जिस तरह से 11 सितंबर कांग्रेस का जब बर्थ नहीं हुआ था, उसके पहले पैदा हुए स्वामी विवेकानंद जी ने 11 सितंबर 1893 में जाकर के पूरे भारत का प्रतिनिधित्व किया था उसी भगवा ड्रेस में, यूएसए में जाकर के, शिकागो में, और पूरा विश्व उस भाषण को आज भी सुनता है और याद करता है। और वो भगवा जो हमारे भारत की आत्मा है, परिधान है, परिवेश है और परिचय है, उसका रिप्रेजेंट करता है भगवा। और उस भगवा का अपमान करके भारतवर्ष का अपमान करना कांग्रेस की संस्कृति है। और भगवा के बारे में चंद लाइनें बोलना चाहूंगा। उगते सूरज की लालिमा भगवा, संध्या की सौम्यता भगवा, जौहर की ज्वाला भगवा, बसंत की छटा है भगवा, भगत सिंह की भक्ति भगवा, भारतवर्ष की शक्ति भगवा। और भगवा के ऊपर जिस तरीके से आक्रमण करने की कांग्रेस बार बार कोशिश करती है, ये वही कांग्रेस है जिसने भगवा आतंकवाद का शब्द गढ़ा। ये कांग्रेस के डीएनए में है। और
मिस्टर कुरैशी रिस्पॉन्डिंग,
इतिहास देख लीजिए, कांग्रेस ने हमेशा अरे तो इतनी देर से मैं चुप रहा था सबको, मेरे को कंप्लीट मनमोहन सिंह जी पहले आंखें देश पे, आप इस तरीके की बात करेंगे। और एक मिनट राहुल जी बहुत देर से सुन रहा था, डॉक्टर मिश्रा कंप्लीट करने दीजिए। ये कपड़े की बात करते हैं, उनकी बात नहीं करते। बड़े भाई का कुर्ता और छोटे भाई का पैजामा आते हैं, जालीदार टोपी लगा के आते हैं, हिजाब का विरोध नहीं करते हैं, हलाला का विरोध नहीं करते हैं, ट्रिपल तलाक का विरोध नहीं करते हैं। यहाँ पर और यहाँ
one minute, let me step in here now.
कांग्रेस अपने
one second, please let me. डॉक्टर मिश्रा जी, एक मिनट सुन लीजिए, दूसरों की भी अब सुनिए।
वक्ताओं को यहाँ पर भेजती है और खुद गायब हो जाती है।
ओके, लेट्स गेट रिस्पॉन्स। 1 second, yes, डॉक्टर रंगनाथन 10 seconds, डॉक्टर रंगनाथन, तहसीन पूनावाला, दानिश कुरैशी, yes, in that order, please, yeah.
Thank you very much, Qureshi Saab. Thank you very much for allowing me 10 seconds. No, I listened to my good friend Dr. Mishra.
Rahul, should I speak first? एक राहुल, डॉक्टर रंगनाथन को 10 सेकंड दे दीजिए, उसके बाद मैं आपके पास आ रहा हूँ। चंद,
thank you.
10 seconds, yes.
ठीक,
thank you. No issue. Thank you. डॉक्टर कौशल मिश्रा की बात मैंने सुनी। उन्होंने कहा कि कांग्रेस के लोगों ने सैफरन टेरर वर्ड कॉइन किया। मैं इनसे 2 सवाल पूछना चाहता हूं। 2 लोगों ने सैफरन टेरर कॉइन किया था और एक आदमी ने कहा था कि आरएसएस वाज बिहाइंड द 26/11 अटैक। वो दोनों आज बीजेपी में हैं। आप उनके बारे में क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
इसका जवाब रंगनाथन जी ये है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी की विचारधारा अगर राहुल गांधी भी एक्सेप्ट कर लेते हैं तो राहुल गांधी को भी हम अपने अंदर रख लेंगे। बात विचारधारा की है, बात हमारे यहाँ मनभेद नहीं हो सकता।
तो जब वो बीजेपी में आ गए तो उनकी विचारधारा बदल गई।
एक्सेप्ट कर लेता है, कोई भी एक्सेप्ट कर लेता है, वो बीजेपी में बीजेपी की आइडियोलॉजी फॉलो करे, उसका बीजेपी में स्वागत है।
जो लोग
बीजेपी की
भगवा का इतना आदर करते हैं,
राष्ट्रवाद और राष्ट्रवाद।
अच्छा डॉक्टर साहब, जो लोग इतना भगवा का रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं, आदर करते हैं, फिर उन्होंने आई थिंक यू आर रिफरिंग डॉक्टर रंगनाथन टू कृपा शंकर जी, why have you taken him into your party, etc., etc. That's a moot question.
Mr. Singh.
And Mr. Singh. That's okay. Let me bring in Danish Qureshi. Danish Qureshi, yes. Danish
I want to
Qureshi.
pull out a lie that the BJP.
Yeah, I'll come to you. Let Danish Qureshi and Sridhar Saab have their point, and then I'll come to you. Don't worry. You'll have the last word.
मिश्रा जी सुनिए,
You'll have the last word.
बैठिएगा और मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि आप बीच में इंटरप्ट नहीं करेंगे। कौशल कांत जी सुनिए, दिल थाम के बैठिएगा। आपने जो अभी बड़ी बड़ी बातें कही है ना भगवा के सम्मान की, मैं भारतीय जनता पार्टी की अभी हवा निकाल दूंगा। यह फोटो है स्वामी अग्निवेश का भगवे कपड़ों में, जिनके ऊपर हमला किया था एबीपी और बीजेवाईएम के युवाओं ने। आपको पता है इस पूरे मामले में झारखंड ने उस वक्त संज्ञान नहीं लिया था, मैटर सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक गया था। तो आप मुझे यह बता दीजिए कि योगी जी ने जो भगवा पहना है और अग्निवेश जी ने जो भगवा पहना था, इसमें कोई फर्क है?
कुरैशी साहब, आई थिंक यू मिस दिस इंटायर 1 मिनट। आप लॉजिक की डिबेट का नहीं समझे। यू शुड नॉट इक्वेट क्लोथ्स विथ एनी एट्रीब्यूट्स। आप गलत समझ रहे हैं। अगर आप मॉडर्न सूट बूट पहन के नहीं, अगर आप सूट बूट पहन के नहीं, मेरी बात सुनिए कुरैशी साहब, आप डिबेट समझे ही नहीं। आप यू हैव बीन सो कंज्यूम्ड
नहीं बोलिए
by you have not understood the debate. We have started by saying don't equate the color or the vestments of any individual, the color of his vestments or his vestments, to any attributes. You can't say just because someone wears bhagwa they are regressive, or someone who wears a suit boot is progressive. Don't judge a person by his clothes, Danish Qureshi. That's the point. We are not getting into who's wearing bhagwa and what that makes them.
I got you, Rahul.
So if you got me, you won't be asking this silly question.
Question to
Okay, now 1 second. Dushyant
that
Sridhar,
if
please.
anybody has make a remark
Mr. Sridhar,
on the Yogi Adityanath,
let me bring Mr. Sridhar into this.
What about the stand of
Mr. Sridhar, I want you to explain, as you always do with your great eloquence, what does bhagwa represent? What does saffron represent? And why we shouldn't consider it a liability like someone in the Congress has. And at least I commend Tehseen Poonawalla for saying that Mr. Dalwai has completely lost it. At least one should commend him for that. But Mr. Sridhar, give us an exposition.
Namaskaram Rahul and namaskaram to my fellow panelists. 3 words in the statement that I could make of the political person's statement. 1 is saffron, 2nd is the dress, and the 3rd word is modernity. Yes, saffron color has been sported by Adi Shankara, by Bhagavad Ramanuja, by Madhvacharya, by Vivekananda. And so saffron is a color that stands for Sannyas Ashramam, for the ashramam, the last of the ashramams that we celebrate in Hinduism as a sign of sacrifice. But one thing that I would like to make very clear, Rahul, that for a very long time, saffron is the only color that people associate with Hinduism in the last few years, which is not so. White is also the color of Hinduism. Green is also the color of Hinduism. Blue is also the color of Hinduism. We have Mahalakshmi coming with white color sari in the Adi Parva of Mahabharata. We have Meenakshi of Madurai, who is described as a green-hued goddess. We have blue, which is associated with Rama and Krishna as their hue. So every color belongs to Hinduism. 1. Second thing, saffron is the color of sacrifice. Second, with respect to the dress, forget about what we wear over the body, Rahul. In Hinduism, in Sanatana Dharma, body itself is a dress. This is a process where we have to shed the body, which is the dress, and then seek liberation. Why? Look at what is worn over the body. And third, modernity. When we talk about dress modernity, I would just like to ask simple questions. When Sri MBS of Saudi Arabia gets investments, does he get that in suit and coat and tie? He wears his Arab clothes and gets all the investments. When we talk about the best of the modern clothes that are worn in the US of the A, isn't the same country that was regressive in its thought, where it says that the woman doesn't have the right to terminate her pregnancy. So I believe that dress, clothes and the color has nothing to do with the thoughts of a person, be it Mr. Yogi Adityanath or be it Mr. Modi or be it Rahul Gandhi. It is their thoughts, if they are regressive, which is to be condemned, and not the person, and especially his clothes.
Well, let's hope that better sense prevails and what Mr. Sridhar has said is understood. There is an old maxim, clothes don't make a man. I'm going to change it, clothes don't make a person. Those words were used at a time when obviously it was PC to use words in just restricted to one gender. Clothes don't make a person. So stop targeting Saffron to get to an individual. Criticize the individual as much as you want, but stop criticizing traditions, Bharat symbols, to make a point. Yes, Mr. Poonawalla, since you want to make a point, here's the last word to you. I know you
Thank you,
won't
Thank
allow
you, and I really
Sridhar
appreciate-
Saab to have the last word.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, I have a lot of respect for Sridhar Saab, and he knows that, and I bow down to what he said. He said something that was very pertinent, and all of us must take very seriously. Just two very quick points. You know what shows what Hinduism or Indianness is all about is the ability to speak the truth. And on this national TV, the channel which is watched internationally, the BJP spokesperson comes and straight away lies. Oh, XYZ is the founder of Congress, and therefore he is his thoughts you can make out anti-Hindu. Whereas the founders of Congress were Dadabhai Naoroji, Surendranath Banerjee, Badruddin Tayebji, Firozshah Mehta, W.C. Banerjee, Muralidhar Subramaniam Iyer, but you take only one name. That's the agenda of the BJP. The BJP is a party steeped in hypocrisy, who on the floor of Parliament said that there is no evidence of mass Sita, and they said, sir, if you
okay, 1 second. हो गया बंद करो जी.
This is not how the debate works.
Lower everyone's faders. Let me tell you, viewers, whether it is suit boot or it is saffron robes, the Congress does tend to judge people by what they wear. Am I wrong? Am I wrong, Dr. Ranganathan? Have I got it wrong? Who came up with this word, suit boot ki sarkar? Who came up with the words saffron, and you know what the second word is?
No, and there is no doubt about that. And the fact is, now everyone in Congress has started wearing white t-shirts. So obviously clothes maketh a man. And the person, I don't know why Tehseen is not wearing a white t-shirt. He should be. It's very cold. It's bitterly cold outside Tehseen.
Let's all wear polo t-shirts by Ralph Lauren, and that way we will all become modern, progressive. Well, on that light note, but unfortunate one, viewers, let me tell you, it's an unfortunate one. For very long, and I started with an example. Our first Prime Minister began one of the most momentous speeches that any Indian can hope to hear. Can you imagine on your independence, moment of independence, that day, in English? What does it tell you? What does that tell you? Think about it.
Messed with destiny.
Well, I don't know, sir, but it tells me that there was a profound disdain for Bhartiyata. And today we have to begin to embrace who we are, our culture, our civilization. 70 years after, 75 years after independence, viewers, we have to decolonize our minds. Anyhow, let's move on. Let's move on, because, viewers, when it comes to talking about issues that affect all of us, Times Now is always in the forefront. From yesterday, from day before yesterday, we have been focusing on this story. Why? Because it epitomizes everything that is wrong with the manner in which we as a society approach 50% of our population. Our mindset is so crippled by prejudice at one level, gender bias, that we can't even bring ourselves, viewers, to condemn something that is so dastardly, so perverted. Because, viewers, we don't take women's issues seriously. It's a fact. It's all out in the open now. Air India's infamous flasher was let off the hook by the airlines. I'm not saying it. The victim of this flasher's perversion has said it. And let's just bring in some of the facts onto the screen, not documents like that. Let's bring out the facts. Times Now has accessed the full complaint of the 74-year-old woman who was allegedly urinated upon. Yes, viewers, urinated upon by a co-passenger in the business class of the flight from New York to New Delhi. This person lives in Mumbai, is very well off, We even tracked his residence down. He's not to be found. The complaint suggests that this incident happened on 26 November, more than a month ago. But the alleged pervert, Shekhar Mishra, was allowed to simply land and disappear. The crew didn't even complain about him, didn't hand him over to the CISF, which is a regulation. You are flashing a fellow passenger. It's sexual harassment. It's a crime under the IPC, a very serious one. But neither do you take down the complaint, neither do you hand over this person. On the contrary, the airline put the victim in the uncomfortable and untenable position of listening to the entreaties of her violator to effect a compromise. Apparently, the man sobered up after about 3 or 4 hours, realized what he had done wrong, begged the airline, told them who he was. Apparently, viewers, he's linked to a top aviation official of the past. So ranks close. And guess what the crew does? According to the complainant, brings this disgusting person in the presence of the victim so that he can beg her, appeal to her conscience and say, please spare me because my children and my wife, what will they think of me? Can you believe it, viewers, this sick man? And this airline, disgusted and distraught, the victim wrote an email to Air India but received no reply. She was forced to write to the Tata Sons chairperson directly of her ordeal. Only then, 32 days later, did the airlines reluctantly approach the police. But to understand the gravity of this man's perversion, hear what the woman has said in her complaint. Just listen.
A male business class passenger seated in 8A walked to my seat completely inebriated. He unzipped his pants and urinated on me and kept standing there till the person next to me tapped him and told him to go back to his seat. Then he staggered back to his seat. I immediately got up and notified the stewardess. My clothes, shoes and bag were soaked in urine. The crew spread sheets on the seat, but it was still damp and reeking of urine. I refused to sit there. The crew told me that the pilot had vetoed giving me a seat in first class. I asked the staff for a change of seat but was told that no other seat was available. I told them that I wanted the man arrested immediately. After sobering up, the crew brought the man to me. He started crying and profusely apologizing to me, begging me not to lodge a complaint. He said he is a family man and did not want his wife and child to be affected by this. I was made to confront and negotiate with the perpetrator of this horrific incident in close quarters. In my own shock and trauma, I found it difficult to insist on his arrest or to press charges against him. After deboarding, no one came to take down my complaint. I waited for 30 minutes and left. Air India crew was deeply unprofessional and there are also a number of failures. I emailed the complaint to Air India on 27th of November, but they have not acted yet.
Viewers, searing questions that we have been asking have finally led to someone waking up. The airline regulator, the DGCA, has now shot off a show cause notice and says prima facie all aviation rules on handling an unruly passenger were flouted. The fact is Air India too big to be brought to book? And why is it that no one has done so with alacrity? Why has it taken this huge explosion in the media, especially here on Times Now, to direct attention? I talked about this story yesterday, viewers. Let me just tell you a few more details. And I want to bring in Bhavtosh Singh, who has been able to now get us more details about this person, this pervert, this alleged pervert. Let me be a little more safe, viewers, because in this country, they shoot the messenger. So even though he was seen by others, I would still call him an alleged pervert, because who knows how powerful he is. If an airline could let go of him, then think about what others must be thinking. Now, Bhavtosh, we've tracked down this person. Give us a few details about him. Who is he?
Well, the accused in this case, or the suspect in this case, is in the age group of mid-30s to early 40s. He's a vice president of a multinational company, and according to the police, they had to go through the passenger manifest to identify him, and then subsequently they spoke to some of the staff members who were in fact on this flight which took off from JFK Airport and landed at Indira Gandhi International Airport on 27th of November, because it took off on 26th of November from JFK Airport. What the police have said is that there was considerable delay of 32 days on the part of the airline to even send this complaint. Having said that, the police have also said that the woman said that they should treat the complaint that she had given to the top executive of the airline as her complaint. More importantly, they have said that they are telephonically in touch with the woman, and the various sections of IPC that have been added in this FIR, the police have said that they want to make this case such that their exemplary punishment is given to the accused. Senior officers have also said, Rahul, that if the police have acted with the electory in the first place, then they would be in a position of filing a charge sheet in this case, not arresting the accused. Remember, the incident happened way back in November 26, and we are here on the 5th of January. So that's the delay we are talking about here.
Absolutely. Completely. I mean, which Tora Bora cave is this man hiding in? He's supposed to be a high-flying executive. His photo should have been plastered by now, released to the media. But there still appears to be someone trying to shield this person. Why isn't he being named? That's the fundamental question. And let's open this up, because we have with us, of course, taking up for the public, Advaita Kala, author and women activist, Dr. Anand Ranganathan. And we have representing the industry, Captain Amit Singh, founder, Safety Matters Foundation, NGO, and Neetu Shukla, former Kingfisher employee. Now, I want to begin with you first. Yes, okay, Dr. Ranganathan, you're raising your hand. What would you like to say?
No, I'm sorry. I normally would have allowed you to, but it's just, I mean, I am suffering in rage here. The primer that you showed is just unbearable. So I'm not talking to you right now, Rahul. Pardon me. I'm not talking to the viewers. I am looking at and talking directly to the Civil Aviation Minister, Mr. Scindia. I'm talking to you, Mr. Scindia, and I have this to say. If on 26th of November 2022, a female cabinet minister were to go to New York on this same Air India flight to attend a UN conference, and a man had walked up to her in business class and urinated on her, would you or DGCA or the airlines have waited for 40 days? Would you?
No. I'll tell you no. Important people, when they're ill-treated on airlines, get immediate justice. And important people also get immediate cover. That's the story, viewers. That's always been the story. And that's why, since the morning, since last night, we have been asking the Civil Aviation Ministry and the Minister to step into this. That's why we have his visuals on the extreme right of your screens, viewers. Because the airline doesn't think it's important. Comes from a group that prides in itself in representing the highest ideals. It values, it says, many moral and righteous ideals. But look at this, viewers. Look at this. A man unzips himself, He exposes himself. He is inebriated. He urinates, he micturates. And he's allowed to walk away just because he happens to be related to someone powerful. We know who it is. Not only should that person who is powerful come out, but viewers, this person's photograph should be made available. Should be made available.
Airlines, Rahul, for a month. Ground the airlines for a month. Minimum.
I want to ask, that's the point I wanted to ask, to get to actually. I wanted to ask the Captain Amit Singh, surely strictest action must be taken. What action should be taken? What should it look like? Captain, first of all, tell us, what are the various regulations that have been and guidelines that have been violated by the airline, and then tell us where and how it should be punished for this.
Well, let's start from the top. The purpose of having a ministry of civil aviation is not to regulate or micromanage the airlines, but to make policies. There are international regulations to which India is a signatory. And an important regulation like the Montreal Convention of 2014 has not been signed or ratified by India. We are still working with the Tokyo Convention of 1963. So there are more complications to it. If such an incident happens on an American aircraft landing into India, India will have no jurisdiction at present. It happened in Air India. So globally, if you see in US between 2014 and 17, the number of sexual harassment cases have doubled from 36 to 78. So there is a global trend. IATA, the international body, has said that unruly passenger is the biggest threat. So it is even bigger than a technical fault or weather-related diversion. So more diversions and action has been taken inside the aircraft because of the humans, and it could be different levels of unruly passengers. So India, regulation-wise, is far behind. We are just being able to handle.
No, sir. You see, all this airline regulation, let's not. I'll tell you what, Captain. I'll break it down for you. I want Advaita Kala on this. I'll tell you what. You see, if you're an accomplice to an act of sexual deprivation, a sexual crime, then Advaita Kala, where does that leave the person who's the accomplice? So here is a crime of a sexual nature. Let's not make excuses for these inebriated chaps. Urinating on somebody, you know where that comes from. You know the kind of mindset that so wants to, I'm afraid, belittle somebody. This is a crime of power. Let's face it. It is just as bad as violating someone's physical being. So, Advaita Kala, this is a sexual crime. And if someone has tried to cover it up or distance themselves from it or not report it, what is the punishment?
First of all, I want to talk about the crime. You're absolutely right. It's a crime of complete and utter degradation. And it is very targeted. And that is what is frightening because, I've been on this route many times. It's a very long flight. It's 16 hours. So you are actually, think about it from the perspective of the victim. This is the 70-year-old lady who was urinated upon. She is stuck in this metal tube for hours and hours. Usually, as women, we face these situations, I'm sorry to say, in all walks of life, in all spaces. But on a plane, she has nowhere to go. She's stuck with this pervert on that flight for the entire duration for hours and hours. And look at how they compound her trauma. They make her confront this man, have a conversation with him, so that she doesn't even have any way of getting away from him. Ideally, he should have been kicked out of that area, kicked out of that cabin and parked somewhere at the rear of the plane, isolated from her. They don't do that. They don't move her to a space which is not urine drenched, which is safe, where she physically feels safe. Can you imagine being on a flight and having to feel physically safe in your personhood? That is what they have put her through on this flight. What kind of handling is this? It's a complete breakdown of every tenet in the book when it comes to handling something which is a sexual crime, when it comes to customer service, when it comes to ensuring the security of a passenger. It's a failure on every count.
Someone needs to go to jail. Dr. Ranganathan, it's not just about a month grounding an airline. The top executives need to be jailed for their part in this.
Yes.
They need to be jailed. This is a sexual act that was being covered up. The person who violates is then brought, who poses a threat, is then brought before the victim.
It's so painful. I can't imagine. It's just crazy.
There is degradation and there is humiliation and degradation and victimization, and it just goes on. Advaita Kala, you're absolutely right, and I want to bring in the Kingfisher employee. 1 second, just 1 second.
Every member of the flight crew must be arrested.
Yeah,
every member of the flight
I think this needs to go further up. Apparently, the pilot, knowing fully well, this is what the complainant has said. The pilot allegedly, even though there was a seat and a fellow passenger pointed it out, that there was a seat in first class, the victim says, the pilot said, no, can't give it to you.
My God, this is just, I can't believe.
Neetu Shukla,
just crazy.
You've been a former Kingfisher employee. How does an air crew become so insensitive? How does this happen? Is there pressure here? Do you think there's something more at play?
It's very shocking, and apart from the passenger behavior, which I thought would never happen or I'd never seen, I can't really say it's a one-off incident, because now we know that the same incident was repeated on a Paris-Mumbai flight. So we know that within 10 days of this incident, the incident has repeated again. It's nice that because of social media and the media, these cases are coming to light. There have been various kinds of cases, but this kind of lackluster response from the airline, completely, from the crew right up till the chairman, because even the chairman had the letter the very next day. This complete breakdown of taking action or even responding, I'm shocked. I'm amazed, and I'm shocked that this sort of behavior can actually go through. A voyage report is written and sent out the day of the flight.
Yes.
That means the entire management is privy to the incident. Nobody can really claim not to know what happened.
And apparently, PTI reports. Listen to me.
And there is
apparently,
no doubt
PTI
about it, but
reports.
this goes all the way to the chairman.
Yeah, 1 second, Ms. Shukla. Absolutely. The chairman, I don't know, many more officials, the managers, all of them, the line man. Let me tell you, viewers, PTI has reported that another incident of this kind has taken place.
This is crazy. I don't know what is happening.
And it will. More will take place, viewers, because there is a complete laissez-faire attitude. Sickness is being covered up. Perversion is being covered up. The perverts are emboldened.
Where is the civil aviation's minister?
Well, no minister and no DGCA regulator. They've issued some show cause. 2 weeks have been given. Is it all? You see, they're just waiting, viewers, for the media to forget about this. It falls off the headline, that poor lady and the other. And we'll get to the bottom of the second case also. These victims will be forgotten. And this pervert, alleged pervert, because today, viewers, as I've told you, they come for you. They come for the messenger. They don't want to report all this stuff. So they sue you, they'll do this, that, the other. They'll victimize. This is what's going to happen. It's absolutely disgusting. Where does this leave the nation's image? Where does this leave the promise of securing women in this country? Let's wake up. Let's wake up. Let's all demand action. Viewers, I leave it at that. But we're going to take this story forward through the evening. Till this person is not arrested, till the people who are complicit are not arrested.
The smartphone category in India is anyway popular, right? उसमें भी जो 20 से 25 हजार वाले स्मार्टफोन्स हैं वो और भी ज्यादा पॉपुलर हैं। शायद इसीलिए इन्फिनिक्स ने आज अपना 020 स्मार्टफोन लॉन्च कर दिया है। I have the smartphone with me right here और इसको आज करेंगे अनबॉक्स। Hi, you're watching Detain. This is me, Padmaja, and it's time for me to unbox this device और देखते हैं फोन में आपको क्या-क्या contents दिखाई देंगे। Let's wait. अनबॉक्स हो चुका है। जैसे कि आपने देखा यहाँ पर स्टिकर उतारते हुए मैंने इसे थोड़ा सा गन मचा दी। यहाँ पे स्टिकर ऑलरेडी दिखाई दे रहा है, बट इसको क्लीन करेंगे बाद में। अभी बात करेंगे स्मार्टफोन के बारे में। थोड़ा सा मुझे वेट इसका ज्यादा लग रहा है, वो यूज करने के बाद पता चलेगा कि ये कितना कंफर्टेबल है। अदर देन दैट यू गेट 3 कैमराज एट द बैक। इसको आपको मिलेगा स्क्वायरिश कैमरा मॉड्यूल के अंदर। द मेन कैमरा इज 108 मेगापिक्सल और यही इसका यूएसपी है। सिर्फ बैक कैमरास की बात नहीं है बॉस, आपको फ्रंट कैमरा भी बहुत ही धांसू दिखाई दे रहा है। एटलीस्ट ऑन द स्पेक शीट यूज करने पे पता चलेगा कि कितना अच्छा है या नहीं अच्छा है। फ्रंट कैमरा जो इसका है वो आपको मिलता है 60 मेगापिक्सल का फ्रंट शूटर। आपको इसमें दिखाई देगा फुल HD प्लस एमोलेड पैनल। बेजल्स थोड़े से मुझे मोटे दिखाई दे रहे हैं, टॉप और बॉटम वाला स्पेशली। साइड बेजल्स आर स्टिल स्लिम। व्हाट कीप्स दिस स्मार्टफोन अलाइव इज Helio G99 चिपसेट। बैटरी की बात करें तो इसमें आपको मिलता है 45 वॉट का फास्ट चार्जिंग सिस्टम, विच इज प्रिटी गुड। एट द बॉटम यू ऑल्सो गेट अ 3.5 mm हेडफोन जैक एंड दैट इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग क्योंकि आजकल के फोन में ये आपको
on the show tonight, viewers.
In a big victory for Jain community's fight for Parasnath, Centre puts a stop to eco-tourism activities at the Shikharji site. The decision came after meeting with Jain community members. Tihar jail officials have lodged a complaint against Satyendra Jain, accusing him of abusing officials and using political power to intimidate them. Sukesh Chandrasekhar has released another letter against Jain, alleging that he had asked Sukesh to bury all differences in exchange for a ticket for upcoming Karnataka polls. Prime Minister Modi addressed the All India Water Conference, stressed on the use of technology like geosensing and geomapping for water conservation.
Let's get it started, yeah, you know it's game time. Ain't no excuses tolerated while you can't grind. It's like an on the job, you know that team.
Hello everyone, ये है बजाज की नई पल्सर P150। इन केस यू वंडरिंग 150 ऑलरेडी मौजूद है, तो इस P वर्जन को लाने का कारण क्या है, मतलब क्या है? सो कारण बहुत सारे हैं। डिजाइन को लेकर, फीचर्स को लेकर और कुछ हद तक परफॉर्मेंस को लेकर भी इस P वर्जन में बदलाव देखने को मिलते हैं। तो क्या है वो सारे बदलाव इस नई पल्सर P150 में, उन सभी के बारे में मैं आपसे बात करने वाला हूं इस रिव्यू के अंदर। और रिव्यू के एंड में बात करेंगे 3 धांसू और 3 नॉट धांसू एलिमेंट्स मुझे क्या लगते हैं इस बजाज पल्सर P150 के बारे में। अब डिजाइन की बात करें तो यहाँ पर जो नयापन देखने को मिल रहा है, स्पेशली ओवरऑल 150 जो पल्सर है उसके मुकाबले इन टर्म्स ऑफ डिजाइन पूरी आपको ये P150 देखने को मिलेगी। लेकिन आपको ओवरऑल जो एसेंस है डिजाइन का वो इसमें N160 वाला देखने को मिलने वाला है। फ्रंट हालांकि अलग है यहाँ पे, लेकिन अब इसमें P150 में प्रोजेक्टर हेडलैम्प्स दिए गए हैं एंड इसमें DRLs भी यहाँ पर इसमें देखने को मिलते हैं। अग्रेसिव, स्पोर्टी एंड शार्प एलिमेंट्स इसके डिजाइन में यहाँ पर देखने को मिल रहे हैं। एंड साइड प्रोफाइल जो ओवरऑल है वो आपको N160 वाला ही झलक थ्रू आउट इसके साइड प्रोफाइल में देखने को मिलने वाला है। टैंक से लेकर इसके रियर पैनल्स यहाँ तक जो जाते हैं, तो ओवरऑल वो लुक कुछ वैसा ही है, लेकिन अग्रेसिव और शार्प काफ़ी ये इन टर्म्स ऑफ डिज़ाइन पहले के मुकाबले लग रही है। देन पल्सर की बड़ी सी ब्रांडिंग यहाँ दी गई है एंड यहाँ काउल अलग से देखने को मिल रहा है टैंक पे एंड देयर इज बेली पैन जो यहाँ पे नीचे दिया गया है, जो बॉडी कलर के हिसाब से दिया गया है एंड P150 की ब्रांडिंग यहाँ पर इसमें देखने को मिल रही है। सीट जो है इसमें स्प्लिट सीट्स आती हैं, इसमें 2 वेरिएंट हैं SD और TD एंड जो इसका स्टार्टिंग वेरिएंट है SD उसमें सिंगल सीट है, इसमें जो है जो टॉप वेरिएंट है इसका उसमें TD सीट दी
Ladies and gentlemen, Congress netas on many occasions have openly displayed their visceral hatred towards the Hindu religion. But the hate has now gone one step too far. Now it seems they have a problem with the color saffron, which they've displayed on several occasions. The same color which represents the strength and courage of the country in the tricolor. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Rahul Gandhi's man in Maharashtra, Hussain Dalwai, today in his hatred for Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath branded the color of his attire as regressive. He said that Yogi should shun saffron attire and modernize his mindset in order to get investments into UP. This chain of reaction came because Yogi Adityanath was in Mumbai to attract investors for his state, given the Global Investment Summit coming up in February. Listen in to this anti-Bhagwa statement from Hussain Dalwai.
आणि त्यासाठी वातावरण तयार करा, त्यासाठी रोज काही धर्माच्या आणि ह्याच्या गोष्टी करण्याऐवजी आणि भगवे कपडे घालून फिरण्याऐवजी जरा मॉडर्न व्हा.
But it's not just Mr. Hussain Dalwai, who's a former Rajya Sabha member of Parliament. The Bhagwa allergy is not new when it comes to the Congress party. The Grand Old Party's office in Kerala's Thrissur in September, just in the beginning of the Bharat Jodo Yatra, was painted in the colors of the Tiranga ahead of Rahul Gandhi's visit. But at the last moment, the color saffron seemed to be just a little too much for the Congress's liking, and they repainted green on top as they thought it might just look like BJP's saffron. In 2010, we cannot forget the then Home Minister P. Chidambaram, who infamously coined the term saffron terror and implicated saffron terror in many bomb blasts in that time period. Also, in 2019, Gandhi loyalist Digvijay Singh chose to highlight crimes related to only saffron-clad seers. Also in 2013, Sushil Kumar Shinde, who was the then Home Minister, said that BJP and RSS conduct terror camps to spread saffron terrors. So, ladies and gentlemen, this statement of Hussain Dalwai is not a one-off incident. The best response that the Congress managed to come up with this was to distance itself from the blowback, but no outright condemnation.
हुसैन दलवाई मेरे साथ राज्यसभा में सदस्य रह चुके हैं और बोल लेते हैं, मैं हमेशा सर मैं ये कहना चाह रहा हूं जो बोलते हैं गंभीरता से नहीं लेता हूं.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार ने अगर कानून व्यवस्था, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, सड़क, पानी, बिजली सही करी होती तो उत्तर प्रदेश के मुख्यमंत्री को निवेश के लिए दर दर नहीं भटकना होता और ऑस्टिन जैसी फ्रॉड यूनिवर्सिटियों से एमओयू नहीं साइन करने पड़ते.
The BJP, of course, came out all guns blazing, targeting the Congress party for once again trying to humiliate the Hindu symbols just to appease the Congress's own vote bank. Listen in.
टाइम एंड अगेन हिंदू आस्था का करो अपमान ताकि चले वोट बैंक की दुकान. This is the same Congress party which said Hindu terror, saffron terror, Hindutva is like ISIS, Gita ji mein jihad hai. Rahul Gandhi must tell us, because he claims to be a Janudhari Hindu, does he stand with these anti-Hindu comments of Hussain Dalwai, or will the Congress party take action on Hussain Dalwai and sack him?
क्या ये बयान देश के साधु संतों का, भगवा पहनने वाले हमारे पूजनीय वंदनीय संतों का अपमान नहीं है? कांग्रेस दल और उनके नेताओं को क्या हो गया है? भगवे रंग से इन्हें क्या आपत्ति है? चुनाव समीप आते हैं, उन्हें हिंदू धर्म की याद आती है और चुनाव निकल जाते हैं, उनका असली हिंदू विरोधी चेहरा देश के सामने आता है.
तो कांग्रेस के जो नेता दिलवई हैं, ये पहले अपने वेशभूषा के बारे में ध्यान देना चाहिए. जो टोपी लगाते हैं, बाकी जो इनका वस्त्र है, जो पैजामा ऊपर करके पहनते हैं, उनको जो है भगवा के बारे में बोलने का कोई अधिकार, राइट नहीं है, खासकर हमारे प्रिय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के लिए. इसका मैं घोर विरोध करता हूं और निंदा करता हूं.
So the legitimate question we are asking on the news are tonight: Bhagwa bashing for ballot by the Congress party, is that really what it wants to do? That's the question. And the debate, Yogi Saffron Robe Rao, the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining the debate tonight, Tuhin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP, Ishkaran Bhandari, advocate, Shantanu Gupta, author, Ravi Srivastava, political analyst, Abbas Haider, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. But my first question goes to my friend, Mr. Kamru Zaman Chaudhary, Congress leader. And Mr. Kamru Zaman Chaudhary, Rahul Gandhi, very modern, can bring in investments because he wears a t-shirt. But Yogi Adityanath, Chief Minister of the largest state in India, wears saffron robes. So clearly he is old-fashioned and not modern, and therefore cannot bring any investment to UP. Is that how the equation really stands for the Congress party?
Navika, good evening. If you think that the saffron is the topic of debate today, then let me tell you, I love the saffron in my biryani. You know, it adds a very vibrant color, it adds a good taste and flavor. Saffron has always been the pious color of India, starting from Swami Vivekananda in the infamous Chicago speech, where Swami Vivekananda brought out, highlighted the Hindu religion to the world. From that to this person who has made bulldozer as an instrument of state policy to oppress people who have protested against the policies of the government, bulldoze their houses just because they have opposed him. Do you think this is not enough to criticize Yogi government and Yogi ji? I feel as a whole, the statement that the Congress leader has made today may be out of taste, but it's not out of context, Navika.
Okay.
People of India are really
not tasteful, but not out of context, Tuhin Sinha. And even for Kamru Zaman Chaudhary, Swami Vivekanand comes only second to saffron in his biryani. Now, talk about stereotyping, and you have it on display on the panel tonight. Tuhin Sinha, respond.
Good evening. I think Kamru Zaman Chaudhary just somehow borrowed Rahul Shivshankar's tweet and mentioned about Swami Vivekanand, because I think his initial thought was only to mention the biryani. But the saffron is the color of fire, it is the color of the sun, and the color signifies energy, it signifies tyag, sacrifice, and it signifies a quest for salvation. So in fact, you know, in fact, I have been increasingly wearing saffron on different occasions, and I have seen the rise in energy. For Yogi Adityanath, that has helped him transform UP completely in the last 6 months, from being the hub of corruption, from being the hub of lawlessness, which Samajwadi Party's colors had reduced it to, whatever their colors, I don't want to, you know, even talk about it. But the point is that the saffron has given him the energy, has given him the courage to transform UP completely, and in the years to come, possibly that is going to help him transform India. Of course, Swami Vivekananda had introduced Hinduism to the entire world, and he was wearing saffron at that point of time. The problem with this Congress party is that it is obsessed with form over substance, one of the reasons why all their criticism is devoid and bereft of logic. Secondly, the constituency where Rahul Gandhi is somewhere holding on, managing to survive in Indian politics by virtue of being the member of parliament from Guyana. The truth is that he cannot afford to paint himself saffron, or he cannot afford to don saffron, because he would lose that constituency also. And therefore, on some pretext or the other, starting from 2010, when I don't know, at that point of time, Rahul Gandhi did not even need Guyana, but today his desperation is to retain his Guyana constituency, which he can't by donning saffron.
Well, so let me get in Ravi Srivastava ji. Ravi Srivastava ji, I can understand.
Navika, can I just come in?
I'm coming to you.
Can I come in?
Kamru Zaman Chaudhary, thoda sa, just a little. Other people also need to speak, so I'll come back to you. But Ravi Srivastava ji, this saffron allergy follows a certain pattern. Whether it is saffron terror, whether it is the painting on the Thrissur district Congress office. थोड़ा सैफरन ज्यादा हो जाएगा तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी भाई, सैफरन हटाओ हरा लगाओ. This shows a chronology of allergy with the color saffron, and today it comes out to be a stereotype of saffron cannot represent modernity. Now I wear a sari. Would you start commenting that I can't be a modern person, I can't think in a modern manner just because I wear a sari, which is a traditional Indian dress? So Ravi Srivastava, are we going to now address people according to what they wear, what color they use? What are we coming to?
Navika, first of all, Hussain Dalwai's statement I don't think should be taken seriously. It's a kind of an ordinary advisory given to Yogi Adityanath. I recall the Prime Minister of this country saying that Dangai apne kapdon se pehchane jate hain. On record, he said it. So I don't know, much of the explanation is not needed. But the fact is that what he was saying is that why you are wearing this saffron and why not wear some modern dress? Now, saffron wearing person, saffron represents spirituality. It represents a sainthood. Now, what kind of sainthood are you practicing in Uttar Pradesh? You have become a bulldozer, Adityanath. You are doing all kind of discrimination. You are doing all kind of anger. You are doing all kind of violence in the state is happening. The law and order is in a mess. So, what your dress is going to help you? Instead, better you modernize. I am on record. I am saying it. The clothes do not matter at all for a person. Even the Arab sheikhs, they wear their own attire and all. Their dress do not affect by investment. It has nothing to do with the attire. It has nothing to do with the color of this particular leader. Now, as far as your statement on Kerala is concerned, there is no animosity with the saffron color by the Congress. Because the Congress paid all their offices with the tricolor. They believe in all three colors. The color Hindu, the color Bhagwan, the color green, the color white. So some painter had wrongly painted it in one color, and that DCC chairman has qualified it. He has said it. They ultimately.
Ishkaran Bhandari, the Congress stands with all colors, but if the Thrissur district office gets colored saffron in a greater percentage than the other colors, then they color it the other colors. But they are with all colors in the tricolor. And they coin the term saffron terror. They don't coin a term called green terror, blue terror, yellow terror. But saffron terror is definitely a terminology coined by the Congress party. Yet Congress is pious and stands for diversity and everybody in this country.
Navika ji, before I come to the serious debate, on a lighter side, I am wearing a so-called regressive color of saffron, so I hope I'm still given adequate time because Congress might try to interrupt me when I speak.
But I don't know if you're going to make any modern arguments.
I will not make any modern argument because I think Bharatiya is itself modern, which they don't seem to understand. But let me just start with Congress and its ecosystem because both are equally important. Congress survives on its ecosystem when it is out of power. So this ecosystem, I will cover three different aspects of life: economy, terror, and soft power, as different as things can be. On economy, Nehruvian policies guided by socialists and communists were mocked and called Hindu rate of growth when the economy was tanking. And the justification was given Hindu ethos of being satisfied, of not working hard, of not enjoying innovation. That is why they termed the economy from 1950 to 90 as Hindu rate of growth. But when the economy is doing well, when we have become the fifth largest economy, they don't call it a Hindu rate of growth. Why?
Totally
because the Prime Minister is different. That is how the soft power works. Now let me come to terrorism. All over the world was grappling with Islamic fundamentalism. And what happens in India? Chidambaram comes up with saffron terror se bach ke raho, saffron terror se savdhan raho. So to cover something, you blame Hindus and saffrons, and thank God for Tukaram Mumble-ji. And I hope BJP government gives him a Bharat Ratna, because if we had not caught that Ajmal Kasab, I am sure RSS ki sajish would have become the official version. Saffron would have again been defamed from Mumbai, because that is the past 2010 statement of Chidambaram. And now on the soft power part of it, that means Besharam Rang and all opposition wearing a bikini and creating. Don't interrupt. See, I told you Congress will interrupt because a saffron wearing person is speaking. A saffron wearing person has to speak, so they will interrupt. Just give me 10 more seconds and then you can wrap.
Where is Kripa Shankar now?
I didn't interrupt you, my friend.
Hey, that person who has criticized you, that is criticized
I know saffron is like red to you, so you have to try to gore me. Saffron is like red to you, so you have to try to gore me, but it won't work. I will still have my say.
Pattern, my
and
dear.
then you can
Okay, Kamru Zaman Chaudhary, allow him 10 seconds, let him complete his point and then you can rebut. Yes, Ishkaran.
Navika ji, economy, terror, and now let's come to the soft power. That is why deliberately, if you wear a saffron bikini and great in the most sexual manner, that is modernity. And that is the saffron they want to show. But if you wear saffron and lead the life of a monk or the chief minister who has just won a historic mandate to be re-elected, then they have a problem with saffron being regressive. So that is why I say on all aspects, Hindu, cultural, they want to object because they think being Hindu itself is a problem.
Well, Kamru Zaman Chaudhary, you want to rebut Ishkaran Bhandari? Your time starts now.
No, I was listening to Ishkaran Bhandari, Navika, and I could not sum up the total what he wanted to say. So that's a trigger that these people go to when they hear the word of saffron or bhagwa. It seems they have got a patent on the bhagwa color or the saffron color. Don't you ever dare to create a patent on the saffron color or any other color for that matter. This color belongs to India. Indian flag has got that color. So don't please try to create a pattern.
Then why the Thrissur district office was recolored, Kamru Zaman Chaudhary? Why don't you answer that question? Why was the Thrissur district office recolored? Because saffron percentage was a little more. So answer that question.
My house, my color. My choice, whatever color I want, I can recolor it, I can do it 10 times. Is there any
Yogi Adityanath's choice,
Navika, that is not an argument.
His dress,
the argument that I want to put out.
Dalwai साहब को क्यों तकलीफ हो रही है?
Navika,
1 minute. Then Dalwai साहब doesn't have a leg to stand on, and I'm coming back to you in just a bit, Ishkaran. But let me get in Abbas Haider. Abbas Haider. You know, somebody in t-shirt is modern, can ask for investment, but somebody dressed in saffron cannot ask for investment because he's not modern enough. So clearly telecom companies, artificial intelligence companies, information technology companies will not invest in UP because वहाँ तो भगवा पहने में chief minister जी. अब ये बेतुकी बात है या does it have any logic?
नाविका जी, दिल हमारा मोहब्बत से गुलजार है, हमको तो दिखता हर रंग पे प्यार है. दिस इज आइडियोलॉजी ऑफ समाजवादी पार्टी एंड आई हैव अ सजेशन फॉर ऑल माय फेनो पैनलिस्ट कि मैं अमन पसंद हूं मेरे शहर में दंगा रहने दो, मैं अमन पसंद हूं मेरे शहर में दंगा रहने दो, लाल हरे में मत बांटो मेरी छत पे तिरंगा रहने दो. See, I strongly disagree with what Mr. Dalwai has said. See, what somebody is wearing, it's an issue of personal liberty. But you know, here is a question. Actually, under the rule of Yogi Adityanath ji, condition of Uttar Pradesh has worsened. The economy of the state has collapsed completely. When Samajwadi Party was in power, GDP growth rate of Uttar Pradesh was around 12%. Now it is around 1%. There are 2 crore unemployed youth in Uttar Pradesh. Mr. Yogi Adityanath is running from pillar to post to get investment in Uttar Pradesh, but in reality nobody is coming to invest in the state because of the lawlessness in the state. According to NCRB data, if you compare 4 years of NCRB data which is available of SP government and BJP government, around 82,000 serious crime cases have increased in Uttar Pradesh. This is the reality. 4 lakh children are suffering from malnutrition in Uttar Pradesh. Per capita expenditure on health is lowest in the country, that is 253 rupees. So Uttar Pradesh on every index has completely got down in past 5.5 years, 6 years. There has been no investment. There are 1045 MOU signed during the first investor summit, but nobody is talking about them. How much investment in reality UP has got? We want a white paper from the government. How many youths they have given employment because of the investment they have got? They are not answering. They are just spending 500-600 crore every year on marketing, and they are trying to portray that UP is doing well. This is far from reality, Navika ji. I strongly disagree what Mr. Dalwai has said, but yes, this is a reality that Uttar Pradesh is doing very bad as of now. Recently 4.2% was growth rate in Uttar Pradesh. Recent data out of 19
Priyanka Gandhi Vadra says that 1,000 crores has been spent by the BJP in destroying the image of Rahul Gandhi. Now Abbas Haider Saab is saying 500 crores have been spent on marketing Yogi Adityanath, पर कुछ हो नहीं रहा उत्तर प्रदेश में. फिर भी पता नहीं क्या जी जादू है कि बार बार जनता उन्हीं को इलेक्ट करती है. क्या चक्कर है?
I think first of all, Navika, coming on the saffron color saffron, Yogi Adityanath is not wearing saffron out of a choice of a color that okay today I have to wear saffron. He is a sannyasi. He has taken a sannyas, meaning saffron colors, which is Bhagwa, which is come from the word Bhagwan, and Bhagwan that represents sacrifice, piousness. So because of that tradition of Indian sannyas, he is wearing Bhagwa. A lot of people in your panel maybe don't understand. Right, that number one. You just told that Yogi Adityanath won a historic mandate in 2022. So 4 crore people in UP believe that what he has done in UP's last 5 years is amazing. You know, UP's number one is almost 42 central government scheme, and Yogi Adityanath always say that along with ease of doing business, I also want ease of living. And ease of doing business was almost 14th, 15th before 2017. Now UP stands number 2nd. And you know, for the GIS, meaning the Global Investment Summit 2023, Yogi Adityanath has set a target of 10 lakh crores of investment. And when he sent teams to 16 countries outside, he already, after discounting all the MOUs which are not so genuine maybe, 7 lakh crore intent was already promised. So he increased the target from 10 lakh crore to 17 lakh crores. And now he is starting national roadshows from Mumbai today, where he is meeting like Mukesh Ambani, Kotak, all the bankers, people from the film industry. This is the first time. This is the first time. Please don't interrupt. Please don't interrupt. I did not interrupt. Please don't interrupt.
Abbas Haider, allow him to complete, and then you can rebut him. Everybody shouldn't speak at the same time. Complete your point, Shantanu.
Exactly. Thank you for teaching him manners. Yeah, so now he's starting national road shows, and Yogi Adityanath is spearheading it from Mumbai, and it will happen in 8 other states. See, when I met him in January and gifting him my second book, in between election, when I asked him in the next term what will be his focus, his only statement, very focused, I will do whatever it takes to make UP a one trillion economy. Navika, you tell me, when did you hear any state setting a GDP target? Very rare. And when he did not even take the oath, the RFP, the request for proposal for the consulting company for 1 trillion economy was already floated, and now Deloitte is already working with 60-member team and making sectorial policies for how to make quadruple, mean 4 times UP economy. Maybe they not reach the target. The target is too steep. But this is the first time a chief minister and his team is doing a targeted focus for a 1 trillion economy. I think we should add, and this is not the time for mentioning what color, what t-shirt, what clothes is he wearing.
Respond, Abbas Haider. I am completely against anybody intervening on the question of choice of clothes. And choice of clothes, whether it is a bikini in a film or an attire that is worn by Yogi Adityanath, everybody should be allowed to wear what they want to wear and how they want to wear and how they want to behave. Where is the problem of Yogi Adityanath not being modern enough to develop Uttar Pradesh? The state's people have given him the charge of the state not once but twice. How can you actually contradict that?
See, the problem is, I agree with you that it is a matter of choice. But the thing is, I respect him as a saint. But the problem is not a visionary leader. That's a reality. That's a bitter truth. Because when he became the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh in March 2017, the unemployment rate in UP was 2.4%. Now it has reached, in June 2022, it has reached 2.8%. No. So actually, the unemployment rate in the state have increased. Actually, and if you talk about 1 trillion economy and such marketing jinx, I think they should not be taken seriously.
Are you contesting?
See, the problem is,
are you contesting the data, Shantanu Gupta? Are you contesting the data?
No, I'm claiming CMIE data.
Based on any data, it is CMIE
Indian economy. That is
based
what I'm
on
claiming.
CMIE data. Okay. Let me correct you. Let me correct you. Let me correct you. CMIE data 2017. I have quoted in my book and multiple articles.
March 2017 and
was
June
standing out between 14 to 16%. Yeah. No, you're completely wrong. Go to the website and check. Go to the website right now and show you on the screen.
He's interrupting me.
It was.
See how.
I'm just learning from you.
I'll tell you. See, when you talk about this, somebody should involve. When you comment on somebody's clothes, I think you should also not say who should wear what. And if you can identify people by what they are wearing, I think that is also not acceptable. So I think these statements from both the sides should stop. We are in a civic society. Such statements should not be taken seriously, and they are in a bad taste, no doubt. But if you talk about the economy, if you talk about the vision of the chief minister, it has failed completely. There is no doubt about it.
Well, Ishkaran Bhandari, you should not take these statements seriously, says Abbas Haider. Would they behave the same way if somebody from the BJP had made a statement of that kind against the Lal Topi of Akhilesh Yadav?
Navika ji, I'll come to that, but first I want to answer Kamran from my friend from the Congress, because he took my name. I am not surprised he didn't understand me. Usually he is a very reasonable person, but because I'm wearing saffron today, of course he will not understand me, because A, they don't understand saffron, B, they want to ignore everything saffron, C, they want to dismiss it. Unfortunately, the voters have dismissed them, and they must live up to their reality and enjoy their biryani in peace, because that's the time the voters have given to them to enjoy their biryani and the food. And now let's come to ignore the statement. That is the problem. This casual way. If you use casually for any other religion or symbolism, you would be hauled over coals, because you would be called a bigot. But the casual way a Rajya Sabha MP or ex-MP can speak on Hinduism or saffron or anything connected to Hinduism, and I agree, all colors are Indian, all colors are from Bharat, but they have a specific targeting to saffron color. That is why saffron needs to be defended double strongly. And if they don't learn their lesson right now, then all the mandirs they go to when the elections are announced, all the Chunavi Mandir Yatras they do when the elections are announced will bear no fruit, because you cannot insult for 364 days of the year, 4 years in a row, and last month become a Chunavi Hindu.
Well, respond to that, Kamruzaman Chaudhary ji.
Well, Ishkaran, be at ease, man. I am not going to snatch away that lovely sweater of yours, orange color. I love that color.
If Congress is in power, you may do it.
The context is not about only the saffron color. No, I am not going to do it. But I will love when I search for a color, same color tomorrow. But anyhow, you know, Navika, the basic point out here is not anybody criticizing Yogi in a sadhu's clothes. The point is that this man, Yogi Adityanath, has polarized the state to such an extent that a sadhu wearing a saffron robes is feared upon by a minority section of the community. That is the biggest problem that India is facing right now. These people, they have used the name of Lord Ram as a war cry, and you cannot expect better things from these people.
Oh, so Lord Ram has once again become a war cry. Lord Ram is once again a war cry.
Please bring in investment into the states. But then,
Navika ji, see the casual manner.
no, not Lord Ram. You lynch people
See
in the
the
name of
casual
Jai Shri
manner
Ram.
in which
You
just
lynch
as a
people
matter
with
of
the
fact
name
they
of
keep insulting.
Jai Shri Ram. That is not right.
My friend, lynching people is not right whether you are chanting Jai Shri Ram or chanting something else. Lynching people is not right is true, but you associate it with the chants of Jai Shri Ram, which is the problem, and it talks about a mindset. And Tuhin Sinha, it is this mindset. And I don't know if any of you noticed, but maybe there was a Freudian slip from Kamru Zaman Chaudhary. When he commented on Ishkaran Bhandari's cardigan also, he first used the word orange. Orange बोल लेंगे, saffron बोलने में दिक्कत है. भाई orange है, saffron है, what's in a name? And Tuhin Sinha, it is the mindset which is the problem.
No, it was no Freudian slip. It was a deep-rooted aversion against Hindu sensibilities.
Please don't
Please understand that while, please allow me while Congress and Samajwadi Party might pretend, while they may pretend that they embrace all the colors, their particular aversion only towards one color, which is the saffron color, which is well known. And that aversion towards saffron is the larger, aversion towards Hindu sensibility. So when Malika, while Malika Arjun Khadge might make a statement like, if you vote for Modi ji next time, you will be promoting Sanatan Dharma. Shivraj Patil might make a statement like likening the fight in Mahabharata to jihad. Some of the other people use the clever words like saffron terror and advising against wearing saffron clothes, which is a smarter way of signaling to their vote bank that listen, we are with you. And the Congress compulsion is well known. At the end of the day, they need an AUDF in Assam, they need an IUML in Kerala, they need a Maulana Taqir in Uttarakhand. So obviously, in some ways or the other, the Congress signaling against. But clearly,
Akhilesh Yadav has learnt a lesson, and he says whatever they do, they can do. I'm not allying with the Congress party ever again, and that he said to me 2 days ago in an interview. But let me get in Ravi Srivastava. And by the way, let me also set the record straight. Abbas Haider was absolutely right when he said that the unemployment figure in Uttar Pradesh in March 2017 was 2.4. That is what the figure was. I just checked it. Shantanu Gupta, you may do well to check that number as well. But Ravi Srivastava, I'm not talking about one odd comment here or there by Mr. Dalwai. The issue is about this sustained manner in which any Hindu symbol becomes a problem for the Congress party. Whether it is the color of their building in Thrissur, whether it is saffron terror, whether it is the saffron robes, the issue is that it is in a sustained manner that they go after this color. And doesn't this actually represent a mindset? That's the only debate tonight.
I totally disagree with you that saffron terror was meant was that the terrorist could be of the saffron color also. It does not mean that terror becomes saffron color. Even the people wearing saffron could be terrorists too. This is what was meant.
Then Ravi Srivastava, why isn't there a green terror? Why isn't there a blue terror? Why isn't there a red terror?
You name it when you see it. You name it, you see when you see it. Why not?
You've not seen. You've not seen. Ishkaran Bhandari, they've not seen that color of terror. Only saffron color terror is what Ravi Srivastava and the Congress can see.
Navika ji, it's a question to me, so may I answer?
Yes, Ishkaran. Respond to that. All faders down.
Thank you. These two clever by half arguments stand fully exposed before the public. 2010, when Chidambaram was speaking that it was a very specific series of events which he was targeting when he said saffron terror is the main terror which you have to be careful about. So 10 years down the line, they may think people have forgotten, but people have not forgotten the statements. They have forgotten to vote for you because you can be too clever by half on TV debates, but how you act while you're in power is well known to the people of this country. You can Google the statements of that time. It was very specific, it was very targeted, it was very direct, and that is why you're directly sitting outside the power.
Well, and if it is about the dress of Yogi Adityanath, then we revel in the clothes we wear, conventional, old-fashioned, whatever they are. In fact, the man who coined the term saffron terror actually wears a veshti and always wears a veshti to parliament. He did so even when he was finance minister. But he was modern enough to take India forward. But today Yogi Adityanath is being questioned for the clothes that he wears. Is that the way people will judge him in the Congress party? And will India actually understand that line of thinking? That's the question. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on debate number 1. On the other side, ladies and gentlemen, a 74-year-old woman was allegedly urinated upon in an Air India flight. Can you imagine the extent of the horror she had to face? Probably not. We can't even imagine. We take flights every other day. But going through something as harrowing as that? And that's not all, ladies and gentlemen. What's also shocking is that the drunk man who flashed at this elderly woman was allowed to leave without facing any action from the airline. The alleged pervert, Shekhar Mishra, who's now been identified as vice president of an American multinational, Wells Fargo, got down from the aircraft and simply just left. Times Now has accessed the full complaint of the woman who alleged that after her clothes and bags were drenched in the man's urine, she went to the crew, but they didn't really help her. Instead, she was made to confront and negotiate with the perpetrator in close quarters. The woman even wrote an email to Air India, but she received no reply. It was then that the victim wrote to Tata Sons chairman directly, informing him of her ordeal. And only 32 days later, the airline approached the police. The flasher has not yet been traced by the police, and highly placed sources also tell Times Now that the accused is linked to a former top official. This may be the reason that the accused still continues to escape the law. Let's also now hear what the elderly woman said in her complaint.
A male business class passenger seated in 8A walked to my seat completely inebriated. He unzipped his pants and urinated on me and kept standing there till the person next to me tapped him and told him to go back to his seat. Then he staggered back to his seat. I immediately got up and notified the stewardess. My clothes, shoes and bag were soaked in urine. The crew spread sheets on the seat, but it was still damp and reeking of urine. I refused to sit there. The crew told me that the pilot had vetoed giving me a seat in first class. I asked the staff for a change of seat, but was told that no other seat was available. I told them that I wanted the man arrested immediately. After sobering up, the crew brought the man to me. He started crying and profusely apologizing to me, begging me not to lodge a complaint. He said he is a family man and did not want his wife and child to be affected by this. I was made to confront and negotiate with the perpetrator of this horrific incident in close quarters. In my own shock and trauma, I found it difficult to insist on his arrest or to press charges against him. After deboarding, no one came to take down my complaint. I waited for 30 minutes and left. Air India crew was deeply unprofessional and there are also a number of failures. I emailed the complaint to Air India on 27th of November, but they have not acted yet.
Sources now also tell us that Air India on its part told DGCA that the victim rescinded the request for action after the issue was sorted. The DGCA in its statement said that it wasn't informed of the incident for a month and now a show cause notice has been sent to the airline. Times Now has also written to Air India's deputy chairman seeking answers, but we're yet to hear from Air India. While the NCW has now stepped in and has asked for a lifetime ban on Shekhar Mishra. Listen in to the NCW.
That is Air India. After the incident, they have not done anything. That is the most shocking, and they let go that man scot-free when the flight landed in Mumbai. And the lady has to go through so much torture, even after torture inside the plane. After coming down, she had to suffer so much, and even in the complaining, nobody was listening to her. And when this incident happened, the crew member did nothing about it. That was most shocking, and that's why we have taken the cognizance. The second thing is that Air India is saying that they have banned for 30 days. That is nothing. He should be banned for life. He should not be in any plane. He should not be allowed in any plane.
And latest information that we are getting is that a lookout circular has been issued against Shankar Shekhar Mishra, which will possibly arm the authorities to try and nab him if he does try to leave from any airport across India. That lookout circular going out now, and we're talking about the 5th of January 2023 when the incident dates back to 26th of November last year. So a month and a half later, a lookout circular is out to try and nab this person, and that is the horrific situation that we're faced with. And this flyer, a 74-year-old woman, could have easily been you or me. And let's go straight across to the debate. Joining me tonight, M.R. Sivaraman, former DGCA and Revenue Secretary. Also joining me tonight, Dilip Cherian, founder of Perfect Relations, Sanjay Hegde, senior advocate, Swapnil Kothari, also senior lawyer, joining me on the debate. And Mr. Sivaraman, my question to you is this just sloppy behavior by the crew and the staff of Air India, or all along there have been just so many lapses that I really don't know where one can begin with in trying to find out who's really responsible for the loss of dignity and just self-respect of this senior citizen?
See, in 2017 itself, the International Civil Aviation Organization had brought out a manual relating to the legal aspects of unruly and disruptive passengers. Following it, I think the DGC also brought out similar circulars and a very elaborate procedure as to how to handle these unruly passengers and what the airline should do. They have laid down very clearly in the circular, the airline should also issue a standard operating procedure for the crew. In this particular case, there have been failure of discharging responsibilities on the part of very many people. Number one, the section cabin crew people should have immediately tried to push the passenger away from the lady. They didn't do it. They could have called for assistance from the male member of the crew. Secondly, the captain should have taken note of it and he should have radioed the ATC and told him that such a passenger is there and we have restrained him, and please keep the police ready to arrest him when he comes out of the control. So the police would have been ready and he could have been taken into custody. Now I think all these failures have taken place. Now at least the DGCA can ground the pilot, because first of all, he failed in his responsibility toward that passenger who was a very old lady. He could have given her a first class seat, put her comfortably and taken care of her, which he did not do it. This was a failure. In fact, during my period, not a similar incident, but there was a very serious incident of a pilot abandoning the aircraft and walking away, leaving the passengers in dead cold in Heathrow Airport for almost 18 hours. I suspended the pilot for 6 months. Deveshwar was the chairman. He did not report to me. I asked for a report from him because I was in London airport on that particular day of incident. Then Deveshwar didn't report it to me. Thereafter, I suspended the pilot. He went to court against me in Bombay High Court. I was present in the court when this came up for hearing, and the judge simply dismissed the plea of the pilot. Similarly, probably a case is still pending against me in Delhi High Court after so many years. So these things happen, and strict action has to be taken because these are violative of the safety of the aircraft and that of the passengers.
Absolutely, and in this case, a hapless woman, a senior citizen, was virtually, completely had a nightmarish time on the flight, and for 1.5 months we really don't know what action has been taken. People are calling up, viewers, Sarvesh, Raj and Swaminathan on the line. Sarvesh, good evening. What do you have to say?
Good evening, Navika ji. First of all, I want to thank Times Now for bringing up this issue. So I would like to say that, earlier also, I'm a frequent traveler. I've traveled to almost 21 countries in the world. So in 2004, I'd taken the Air India flight, and I was served, the only cabbage, the raw cabbage as a, sabji in my meals. And you can imagine this happened in Air India in 2004. And I find the attitude of the crew totally not customer friendly, and that too happening to a woman.
Absolutely, Sarvesh ji. Your experience shared by many. Raj also calling up. Yes, good evening, Mr. Raj. What's your experience?
Good evening, Navika ji. It really beats me. Even in the Aboriginal races, when people don't have behaved the way this person has behaved in 21st century, that too carrying himself on an aircraft and traveling in a hapless lady of 70 and odd. And again, the entire crew was witness to it, the pilot, the staff, the stewards and the air hostesses. And he walks off after 1.5 months. He come to hear from Times Now stating that this has happened.
And not just that, Mr. Raj, it was not the crew who actually shooed away this man from the ladies' seat. It was actually a fellow passenger. So the crew did not even take care of that. But thank you for calling us, Swaminathan. Mr. Swaminathan, do you think the lapses are just too many in this case?
Navika, it is just not the crew or the pilot. They must have got instructions from top not to take action against this person, Mr. Mishra, who is a very powerful person, and for all you know, they're giving him time so that he flees the country and he goes to one of our friendly countries where such criminals are taken care of.
Well, that's a fear many people have expressed. Also joining us, thank you, Mr. Swaminathan. Prabhu Raj joining us from Ooty. Good evening, Mr. Prabhu Raj. Mr. Prabhu Raj, do you think this is just an Air India problem, or do you think overall airlines are actually callous?
Good evening, Navika ji.
Sir, can you turn down the volume of your television and just speak to us? Otherwise, it's difficult to hear you.
Okay, fine. What?
Yeah, while you do that, let me get in Dilip Cherian. Dilip Cherian, is this an airline problem, or is this more widespread, other than Air India also? Carelessness, because in this case, the pilot even vetoed the suggestion of the crew members.
I think the fault lies clearly with the airline. 32 days of delay. Thank God the Times Now has raised the issue and is persisting with it. There is no doubt that the pilot knew, so there was no fault as far as the crew was concerned since he was asked about this. There is no space for apologies of being kind here or getting the passenger to do a samjhauta with the criminal who did this act. The fact is that this is exactly what we expect private ownership to not do. You know, we are all trying to focus on minister, DGCA. The fault lies distinctly and clearly with the airline, and the airline needs to be held responsible and accountable for this.
Swapnil Kothari, and that's the question I want to ask you. 35 days and this comes to light now, and the crew members are actually making this woman who suffered at the hands of this man, this senior ranking official, as we now hear in a multinational company, you know, they want him to sit and have a dealing with him that he should pay for the dry cleaning or replacement of her clothes. I mean, is this a complete subversion of any sensitivity in this case that could have been kept by the airline crew?
Yes, Navika, to that extent, I agree with you that they could have put her in the first class. They could have avoided this. There cannot be any compromise or a samjhauta as far as this aspect is concerned. At best, the airline could have said that possibly try to detain him, once they get down. But that is one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that I would have wanted that lady to make sure that the man is detained. She may be in a state of shock, I completely understand that, but thereafter, even after a day or two, maybe that man is let off free.
So you think the 74-year-old woman who the airline did not even take care of, who the airline said they would help her and get her out, was left stranded even at the airport when she landed? She should have ensured that this man was detained, and the airline should not have done anything. I find that suggestion preposterous, Swapnil Kothari. Pardon my saying that, but Prabhu Raj, Mr. Prabhu Raj on the line. Yes, Mr. Prabhu Raj.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Is this an airline or it's a street? I just want to ask, is this an airline or a street? How dare that person act like this? Why did the crew member silent? Did not take action? The crew members must be sacked at first attempt. The airline must.
I would tend to agree. I would tend to agree with you, Mr. Prabhu Raj. But we're waiting for action. A lookout circular has just been issued. Well, we don't know what happens next. But thank you for joining us. Also joining us on the phone line is Mr. Abhishek. Good evening, Mr. Abhishek. Do you buy the explanation given by Mr. Swapnil Kothari that the lady in question should have ensured that this indecent man should have been detained? Was it really up to her, not the airline? Mr. Abhishek? Neeta is joining me from Mumbai. Good evening, Neeta.
Good evening, Navika. This man, he should have been arrested at Bombay airport itself.
Yes, but nobody did so. Nobody did so, Neeta. Yeah, I completely echo your...
Airlines have got more authority compared to the passenger.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Sanjay Hegde, that's my question. Swapnil Kothari says that, this lady should have made sure that he was detained. Was it really up to her?
I disagree. I totally disagree. This was a failure of leadership in the first instance. Ultimately, the pilot is responsible for the particular flight. He should have ordered the crew to detain the man, hand them over to the police. She failed also to provide another seat. If there were seats available in first class, she should have been upgraded there and then. This is a total failure both of imagination, service, and it definitely is a deficiency in service for which the airline has to pay. Quite apart from the regulator, the DGCA, which has to take very strict action, the pilot must be grounded at the very least.
Absolutely well said. And joining us is Mr. Madhusudan from Bengaluru. Mr. Madhusudan, do you think 30 days Mr. Shekhar Mishra being put on the no-fly list is enough action against him?
Definitely, it is too long. He should have been arrested
one thing, and the entire crew also should be suspended, and the pilot also. And I would give one more suggestion. Why can't this liquor be banned in Air India in that particular route for some time, so that the
you agree with that, Dilip Cherian? Banning liquor on the route will solve the problem?
Been prescribed by the DGCA himself or herself in the rules. 30 days the maximum period for which a man can be banned from entering the flight. In this particular case, 2 offences have been committed under the IPC. One is obscene behavior of the person, another is causing public nuisance. So this warranted the captain to inform the ATC to keep the police ready to arrest him. So it is the captain's failure. Primary failure is that of the captain of the aircraft. He should have been grounded by the DGCA by now.
Okay, well said. Mr. Alok joining us on the phone line. Mr. Alok, Mr. Shivraman, who's an experienced man, has held the DGCA's position, says the captain failure is the topmost failure and he should have been grounded on day one. Why are we waiting? What do you think?
Thank you. I just have 2 comments. I think Mr. Hegde made a point that the action lies with the captain of the plane, and I personally think the air crew is given too much protection. They are responsible for passengers at 30,000 feet or 40,000 feet above the ground, and the action must be taken against the captain. He shouldn't be grounded, he shouldn't be suspended, he should be summarily tossed out.
Well said, Mr. Alok, but we are still waiting for the first round of actions to be taken. There is, of course, the violation of the flying rules, but there is also violations in the IPC which have only come to light because we in the media have picked up this entire issue. It really wasn't the company, the airline, the DGCA which even knew anything of the sort had happened on the airline, and that, to my mind, is the scariest part of this incident, really, that nothing comes to light unless the media brings it to you. And we will continue to demand for action, not just about the arrest for the violations of all the IPC sections, but also action against the crew that really made this lady experience such a nightmarish time on that flight. Not that it makes any difference, this is not acceptable if somebody did it in an economy section, but that this is happening in the business class section just tells you that money doesn't buy you comforts. It can only sometimes even give you nightmares of the kind Miss Rekha actually experienced. God help us. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on the News Hour tonight. Good night. Be safe.
The News Hour at 9 will be right back after the break.
इनकेस आप मिलेनियन वाली जनरेशन से हैं तो आपने शायद वो गाना सुना होगा, देखा जो तुझे यार दिल में बजी गिटार। सो कुछ ऐसे अगर आप मूड में हैं तो यहाँ पे ये गिटार की स्ट्रिंग्स टाइप दी गई हैं, एग्जैक्टली स्ट्रिंग्स नहीं है बट ऐसे कुछ मूड में है तो आप इनका इस्तेमाल उस समय जरूर कर सकते हैं। अब आप समझ गए होंगे कि गाड़ी कौन सी है, हाल ही में इसका लॉन्च हुआ था, ये है BYD की Atto 3 और क्या परफॉर्मेंस, क्या रेंज, क्या डिजाइन, क्या फीचर्स BYD अपने इस इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल में दे रहा है, उन सभी के बारे में मैं आपसे बात करने वाला हूं इस वीडियो में। और वीडियो के अंत में हमेशा की तरह बात करेंगे 3 धांसू और 3 नॉट सो धांसू एलिमेंट्स मुझे क्या लगे इस BYD Atto 3 के बारे में। तो चलिए शुरुआत करते हैं। तो शुरुआत कर लेते हैं इस Atto 3 के डिजाइन वाले एस्पेक्ट से। तो फ्रंट में BYD का कहना है ये गाड़ी का डिजाइन जो है ओवरऑल ड्रैगन इंस्पायर्ड है, चाइनीज ब्रांड है, तो कुछ वैसा ही एसेंस BYD कह रही है हमने इस गाड़ी के डिजाइन और स्टाइलिंग में देने की कोशिश करी है। हालांकि ड्रैगन इंस्पायर्ड तो मुझे फ्रंट ज्यादा नहीं लग रहा है, बट फिर भी यहाँ पे सेंटर में बड़ा सा BYD का लोगो है, क्रोम का एलिमेंट दिया गया है थ्रू आउट जो जाता है इसके फ्रंट हेडलाइट के ऊपर से सेंटर तक, एंड हेडलाइट जो है क्रिस्टल LED कॉम्बिनेशन।
You're watching the News Hour at 9. You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned.
The smartphone category in India is anyway popular, right? उसमें भी जो 20 से 25 हजार वाले स्मार्टफोन्स हैं वो और भी ज्यादा पॉपुलर हैं। शायद इसीलिए इन्फिनिक्स ने आज अपना 020 स्मार्टफोन लॉन्च कर दिया है। I have the smartphone with me right here और इसको आज करेंगे अनबॉक्सिंग। Hi, you're watching at Detain. This is me, Padmaja Joshi, and it's time for me to unbox this device और देखते हैं फोन में आपको क्या-क्या contents दिखाई देंगे। Let's begin.
Welcome, you are watching the News Hour Agenda. I am Padmaja Joshi. Today when Yogi Adityanath reached Mumbai to woo investment for his state, a Congress leader in Maharashtra wasn't impressed at all with it. But what he said about it was the really interesting part. Congressman Hussain Dalwai opined that in order to get investment for Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath must look the part. He must look modern. And to look modern, he must wear Western. It was advice that was both on investment and on style. Listen in.
वातावरण तयार करा, त्यासाठी रोज काही धर्माच्या आणि ह्याच्या गोष्टी करण्याऐवजी आणि भगवे कपडे घालून फिरण्याऐवजी जरा मॉडर्न व्हा.
This advice, of course, was quite perplexing given that hundreds of men and women down the ages, in fact many of us still, wear Indian and saffron clothes and have done pretty well for themselves. From Mahatma Gandhi, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Swami Vivekanand, these names would jump out at you. Naturally then, the Congress was asked, what explains this saffron elegy, or is it an aversion naturally to all things Bharatiya in general?
Time and again, Hindu आस्था का करो अपमान ताकि चले वोट बैंक की दुकान. This is the same Congress party which said Hindu terror, saffron terror, Hindutva is like ISIS, Gita ji mein jihad hai. Rahul Gandhi must tell us, because he claims to be a Janyudhari Hindu, does he stand with these anti-Hindu comments of Hussain Dalwai, or will the Congress party take action on Hussain Dalwai and sack him?
क्या ये बयान देश के साधु संतों का, भगवा पहनने वाले हमारे पूजनीय वंदनीय संतों का अपमान नहीं है? कांग्रेस दल और उनके नेताओं को क्या हो गया है? भगवे रंग से इन्हें क्या आपत्ति है? चुनाव समीप आते हैं, उन्हें हिंदू धर्म की याद आती है और चुनाव निकल जाते हैं, उनका असली हिंदू विरोधी चेहरा देश के सामने आता है.
तो कांग्रेस के जो नेता दलवाई हैं, ये पहले अपने वेशभूषा के बारे में ध्यान देना चाहिए. जो टोपी लगाते हैं, बाकी जो इनका वस्त्र है, जो पैजामा ऊपर करके पहनते हैं, उनको जो है भगवा के बारे में बोलने का कोई अधिकार राइट नहीं है, खासकर हमारे प्रिय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के लिए. इसका मैं घोर विरोध करता हूं और निंदा करता हूं.
You're watching the News Hour at 10. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Joining us now, Sharad Trivedi, spokesperson of the BJP in Uttar Pradesh, Acharya Vikramaditya, spiritual guru, Lokesh Jindal, leader of the Congress, Dr. Suman Siraman and Anirban Banerjee, both political analysts. I'll start with you, Anirban Banerjee, because I genuinely actually wanted to have this discussion only to find out what is the right piece of clothing to get investment. Because apparently that is also now prescribed. What should you be wearing to get maximum money? Because I want to wear that.
Well, in that regard, what about following those leaders, those political leaders of the past, like Mr. Nehru, who have actually built this modern India from ground up? What about following Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, who actually showed us what a true political leader should look like? You can choose any dress.
What should they look like?
It is your personal choice. But when you are holding a public post, a public office, and as I said, I gave 2 examples. You wanted some examples, I gave you 2 examples. There are more, of course. Dress is a very personal choice, no questions about that. I am not from that camp who are going to decide what people are going to wear. Therefore, but when you are holding a public office, I think there is some restraint that that one should maintain. Because since our constitution is still, at least still, is safe and is secular, therefore why not refrain from blatantly showing what your religious belief is?
But how does religious belief
at our home,
affect your getting investment? How does your religious belief stop you from getting investment?
Religious belief never affects, religious belief does not affect getting investment or anything else. Religious belief is a very personal choice. Everybody has a right to practice their own religion. But as I said, when you are holding a public office, there are some things, some norms that you should maintain, and we have been shown by the great political leaders of the past.
What are those norms?
That how that should be done.
What are those norms of public office? Because there is no book, there is no manual, there is no rule, it's not in the constitution. What are those norms? What are those norms of public office?
There are some precedences.
Like?
There are some precedences. I gave you 2 examples.
Okay.
2 of the greatest political leaders of our country, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru, both, as far as I know, were practicing Hindus in their private life.
Okay.
But when it came to their political life, none of them meddled with religion and confused it with how to administer the country.
But what does administering the country have to do with what you wear, sir? And as far as people who don't wear bhagwa or who are not dressed like a yogi and their handling of the economy is concerned, do you know that in 1991, under people who did not wear the bhagwa or did not dress like a yogi, India's gold was pledged to the Bank of England and the Bank of Japan. So I can tell you with from the lessons of history that wearing Western clothes doesn't automatically guarantee having great administrative skills, and wearing saffron clothes does not in any way ensure that you do not have administrative skills. So what is the actual problem?
Is that a question to me?
Yes, it is a question to you. Because now I think we have safely isolated the fact that wearing Western clothes is in no way making you a better administrator or getting you more investment or making you more acceptable to the country or to investors or to the world.
Not. It is No, as I said, it is not about wearing Western or Eastern or Oriental clothes. It is about showcasing your politics by donning a particular type of clothing. When you are trying to showcase that I am the face of Hindutva politics, that is a problem. At least in our present constitution, as I said, there should be a line between practicing religion and administration.
But how is his wearing saffron showing that he is the face of Hindutva politics? He is the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh who also wears saffron robes.
Of course he is.
He is not the chief minister because he wears saffron robes.
Yes, and what is the why one becomes a chief minister depends on multiple factors, and one of the reasons maybe is the Hindutva politics that the BJP preaches. So, and Mr. Adityanath, being a member of the BJP, is also part of that politics.
So
that
he has been wearing the same thing since he was member of parliament.
When the BJP wants to preach its politics, they can do it without breaking the law.
People voted him into parliament. Then he was made the chief minister.
Yes,
people voted him back into power as chief minister.
He could have avoided that.
But why should he avoid it?
As I said, there is no written law regarding what a chief minister or a minister should wear. As I told you, that is the norm, that is the precedence that our previous political leaders have set. You can consider Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, one of the very revered leaders of the BJP RSS group.
Who also wore a dhoti, by the way.
He did not ever wear any particularly religious. Yes, of course he wore dhoti. Dhoti is not directly linked with any religion as far as my knowledge goes.
Dhoti is okay, but saffron you shouldn't wear.
When you are preaching a type of politics,
can you wear a green dhoti?
I didn't say saffron you shouldn't wear. You can wear anything you want. But as I said, when you are in a public office, there are some norms, some precedents that has been set.
Okay. I don't know what are those norms of precedence exactly, because I tried to go back and think of all of our prime ministers, and actually every single picture that I remember of our prime ministers, at least in our textbook, they were all wearing Indian clothes. They were all either in achkan or in dhoti. So I do not know what is this precedence you are talking about. The only thing I think which you are not saying in so many words, but you are insinuating, is that no administrator should be wearing saffron, because that seems more religious than governmental. Sharad Trivedi. It's just that when you are in government, you should look like an administrator and not like the Mahant. I think that really is the unspoken thing that everyone is tiptoeing around. Sharad Trivedi.
I don't know how to respond to this, but I personally and the whole country belongs to the tradition of which one of the most prominent persons following that tradition was Swami Vivekananda. When he went to address the World Religious Conference in Chicago in US, some lady had told him that how shabbily this man is dressed. He was obviously wearing Indian clothes and saffron. So he responded that, ma'am, in your country it is the clothes which make a man, in my country it's the character which makes man. But I think in Congress probably the clothes are making the man. And I have not seen, I have in Mrs. Gandhi, whether right in her presence or in any movie or films or photographs, that she was wearing any Western clothes. She was always wearing an Indian sari. I don't think she was, if by those standards, probably she was less nationalistic than what Congress is professing to be today. This is this party is in the abyss and is probably very soon going to have an epitaph written for it.
So here's the thing: I do not think, even though the comment loosely, the comment loosely, Mr. Trivedi, was about wearing Indian, I think the real insinuation, which is why I had that whole conversation with Anban Banerjee, the real insinuation was that why is he wearing saffron, Lokesh Jindal, isn't it? That's the problem. Why is Yogi Adityanath dressed like a yogi? Because when you are a yogi, apparently, Lokesh Jindal, you cannot be a chief minister or an administrator. That really is the unsaid thing in this whole conversation today.
See, Padmaja, when they talk about saffron color, it is usually worn by monks who are into austerity, away from the worldly matters of politics, economics and society. But we are living in an age whereby a monk who claims to be a monk but is very much involved in politics, economics and society. The Constitution of India clearly states that India is a secular state. So basically we expect the head of the state at least to embody the very principles of the Constitution and act in the manner in which the Constitution wants it to act. Now, a particular chief minister of a state is becoming the brand ambassador of the Hindu religion by wearing a saffron dress, and which is away from the very principles that saffron dress addresses to, that saffron dress indicates. The point is, या तो पूरी तरह से भगवाधारी बैराग धारण कर लो, या तो आप बाबा जी बन जाओ, हम तो काशी विश्वनाथ में आपके चरणों पे आएंगे, या तो फिर become a professional administrator, a politician, a bureaucrat, or whatever capacity you want to work in.
पर शफीउर रहमान बर्क से तो कोई ये बातें नहीं बोलता।
हाँ जी,
शफीउर रहमान बर्क तो आते हैं, अपनी टोपी भी पहनते हैं, अपनी अचकन भी पहनते हैं, अपनी दाढ़ी भी रखते हैं, फिर भी वो सांसद रहते हैं। उनसे कोई तो नहीं कहता ये
गलत बात है, गलत बात है।
क्यों गलत बात?
बिल्कुल गलत बात है।
क्यों?
देखिए, अगर कोई if someone puts an attire of following a particular religion, trying to claim that he is away from the worldly spheres of life, he has adopted a lifestyle that is dedicated to a particular religion, or he is pursuing God, or away from
but
all
who has
forms
said
of
that wearing saffron means you have already given up the worldly pursuits? ये कहां पे लिखा है that only those people wear saffron who are not in any way involved in worldly pursuits? Who says that?
If I am talking about the saffron that is born in the spirit, which a muni, in fact, the yellow robe, the saffron wearers, they were usually those who had left their households and who are monks in full capacity, and they do not have to deal anything with the worldly matters. Those were the people who used to wear saffron.
Acharya,
but here we are having.
So people who are wearing saffron should be sitting on Mount Kailash. Why are you sitting here on TV? And why is Yogi Adityanath sitting in Mumbai? Lokesh Jindal is very unhappy.
मुझे ऐसा लगता है यहाँ पर कि कुछ लोगों के मेंटेलिटी में अभी भी वो वेस्टर्नाइज कल्चर अभी भी चल रही है। इनके दिमाग में जो जेंटलमैन की जो डेफिनेशन है ना, वो अंग्रेजों वाली चल रही है अभी तक। बेसिकली वो आयरनी है इस देश की कि ये सिविलाइज्ड पर्सन उसी को मानते हैं जो पैंट कमीज कोट इत्यादि पहनता है, बाकी सब तो इनके लिए है ही नहीं। मतलब वो सब आदमी नहीं है जो इनकी मेंटेलिटी रही है। मुझे लगता है नेहरू के जमाने से ये मेंटेलिटी रही है कि जब नेहरू जी ने लिखा कि मैं एक्सीडेंटल बेसिकली इंडियन हूं, हिंदुस्तान में पैदा हुआ, वो वेस्टर्न चाहते थे। ये मेंटेलिटी वहां से है कि बेसिकली हिंदुस्तान में इंफीरियरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स पैदा करना चाहते हैं, यानी आपको अपनी कल्चर में विश्वास नहीं है। अरब गए हैं कभी आप? अरब देखा होगा, टीवी पे तो देखा होगा, घूमते भी रहते हैं, पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं सारे आप लोग। वहां के जितने इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट हैं वो सारे के सारे वो सिर पे वो जो टर्बो साइकिल की टायर है ना, वो लगा के घूमते हैं। यू कॉल देम अ कल्चर्ड पर्सन, क्योंकि आपको वहां से कोई दिक्कत नहीं होती। वहां जो घूमते हैं वो लोग, वो चोगा पहनकर, उनको आप बिल्कुल मान रहे हैं, उनकी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है आपको। लेकिन यहां पर अफ्रीका जाइए, अफ्रीका के अंदर बहुत सारे एक अरबी राष्ट्रपति थे वहां के, मैं नाम भूल रहा हूं उनका, और वहां उन्होंने वो यूएन की मीटिंग में अपनी कल्चरल ड्रेस में गए। यानी आपको अपने कल्चर में विश्वास है ही नहीं, आप चाहते ही नहीं है। आप लोग जो दास्ता की बेसिकली अंग्रेजों की जो दास्ता रही है उसी की छाप में आप रहना चाहते हैं। अपने जो बेसिकली कल्चर को आप भूल गए हैं। कल्चर हमारी क्या थी? कल्चर हमारी धोती, सैफरन, ये सब चीजें थी ना, कुर्ता पैजामा, ये सब हमारी
एक्चुअली अ वर्ड फॉर दिस, ब्राउन साहिब।
आप उसको डेफिनेशन
लिटिल ब्राउन साहिब, लोकेश जिंदल,
द पर्सन हु इज वेयरिंग दिस काइंड ऑफ ड्रेस, ही इज नॉट अ जेंटलमैन।
ना स्वामी जी, मैं आपको कुछ कहना चाहूं। देखिए, हमारा जो कल्चर था वो ये था कि हिंदू धर्म जो था, अद्वैतवाद की अगर आप बात कर लो, सुनिए
आपको पता ही नहीं भाई साहब, हमारा कल्चर देखिए जाकर, हमारा कल्चर तो
अरे सुन तो लीजिए
जो जितने भी आप
सुनिए,
एक जनरल साहब,
धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्ष, अगर मैं इन 4 वर्णाश्रम धर्म की बात करता हूं, इसमें जो मोक्ष है, जो चौथा स्तंभ है, जिसमें एक व्यक्ति वानप्रस्थ आश्रम ग्रहण करता था, उसके बाद में वह व्यक्ति भगवा धारण कर लेता था कि अब मैं धर्म अर्थ काम से अलग हो चुका हूं, अब मेरी राह मोक्ष के प्रति है। लेकिन आप ऐसे भगवाधारी हैं,
सिविलाइज नहीं थे क्या? वो हिंदुस्तान को सोने की चिड़िया नहीं बना रखे थे?
Lokesh Jindal, I will stop you here. I love how you have very widely misinterpreted कि कौन से अलग अलग आश्रम होते हैं जीवन में। थोड़ा बहुत तो हमने भी पढ़ा है, आपका गृहस्थ आश्रम होता है, वनप्रस्थ आश्रम होता है। वनप्रस्थ आश्रम का भगवा पहनने से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है। These are just different stages in life, सर। कि आपका गृहस्थ आश्रम के बाद ये माना जाता था, और ये भी कहीं लिखा नहीं हुआ है that आप वनप्रस्थ आश्रम में हैं तो आप भगवा पहनेंगे और फिर आप जिंदगी में कुछ नहीं करेंगे। This was just to say how different stages in life are divided. But you still haven't answered my question. Now let's just hold on a second. Let me just clarify that one point that you mentioned, where Acharya Vikramaditya, the association of the color saffron is with somebody who has given up on worldly pleasures, worldly pursuits, power, money, having a household. They've given up on that. So for somebody who's a chief minister sitting there in office with Bhagwa, is contradictory. That is what Lokesh Jindal is saying.
Chanakya. Take an example of Chanakya. Take an example of Chanakya. All the spiritual saints who used to be have been defined in our culture, in our Puranas. They all were the ministers. They all were the sadhus. They all were the sadhus. They were handling the basically the whole affairs of the state by the. Take example of Vashisht, take an example of Chanakya. All these spiritual leaders, they were the saints and they were managing the country. They were managing the state. Everything was managed by these people. They're the learned people. You can't say this thing.
In fact, if you're talking about people who are directly or indirectly, in politics, sir, some of the strongest figures of politics in our country have been those who have been yogis. Officially they may not have been Dhirendra Brahmachari, Chandra Swami. क्या बात कर रहे हैं आप सर? ऐसी बात नहीं है. कम से कम योगी आदित्यनाथ is formally elected first to our parliament and then to our legislative assembly. There are people who have sat on the outside जिन्होंने सरकारें बनाई हैं और सरकारें गिराई हैं और उन सबने भी भगवा पहना हुआ है. But anyway, let me bring in Dr. Sumansi Raman as well. It's indeed very strange that while a Hussain Dalwai seems to think that a Yogi Adityanath in saffron robes is not acceptable as somebody, who should be spoken to for investment, Mukesh Ambani seemed to disagree. Dr. Sumansi Raman.
Okay, Padmaja, two, three quick points. First point is very simply that this is Mr. Dalwai's personal opinion. So I'm glad that you have been graceful enough not to ask for Rahul Gandhi to apologize or, take action or whatever. So this is one individual's opinion. Second, very important, saffron, as we all know, is a color of courage. It is a color of sacrifice. There is no doubt about it. The point that Mr. Dalwai is making is actually he could have pointed to any number of ministers in the present government who constantly dress up in Western clothes when they go abroad. I mean, have you seen Mr. Piyush Goyal and so many other ministers at these, industry summits?
And they constantly dress up in Indian clothes also when they go abroad.
So now, they do. So he was not saying Yogi Adityanath ji should never dress in saffron clothes. Did he say that? It's his personal opinion. One more very important point. In 2017, Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, who was then a BJP MP, actually called out members of the cabinet where he said, in fact, I don't want to use the term, he said that many of them are looking like waiters when they dress in Western clothes and go on. But the point really is that this is something which has been pointed out against BJP MPs, asking them to not to dress in Western clothes. If they feel that they want to dress in Western clothes, and then you are conflating that.
I'm sorry, what is the logic? That is not what was said at all. What was said was, if you are coming to Mumbai to ask for investment, then you must dress in a modern way.
1 second.
You should be modern and dress modern. Now let's talk about some facts. Just today.
The point he was making exactly.
How do you know, sir, unless you are some kind of Dalwai whisperer and you have figured out what Mr. Dalwai meant, contrary to what he actually said. What he said was this.
You tell me what is modern. You tell me what is modern.
I think an Indian dress is modern. An Achkan is modern. As long as you are smartly dressed, it's all modern.
Let's go back. 1 second. Let's go back 10 minutes into this debate and play the tape where Padmaja Joshi is saying that these people believe that Western clothes are modern.
Exactly. You asked me what I think is modern as opposed to what Mr. Dalwai said, sir. Is this about dissecting me, what I wanted to say, or is it about actually discussing the issue at hand?
No, the point is, when industrialists are being met in a global environment, people tend to wear Western clothes, whether they are Congress people or BJP people.
Why should you have to wear it?
Now, whether it is right or wrong, we can have a separate debate.
Choosing to be dressing like that is another thing. But for somebody to be shamed and said, "Arey, you have come here to look for investment, at least dress modern," is a very different thing, and it reeks of elitism. You should be asking Hussain Dalwai, what is modern? What is modern according to you? And
You should be
actually now
asking-
let's come down to
Yogi ji
facts.
should be asking his own
Here is
party
what
colleagues,
the non-modern.
why are they aping the West?
Here is what you should not be aping the West, which is what Mr. Dalwai is asking for. That you ape the West in order to seem modern, in order to seem acceptable to businessmen and industrialists. But here let me give you a couple of facts. Here is what today has been announced in addition to meeting a string of industrialists. Here is what the UP government says has emerged from today's meeting. You've been promised investment worth 5 lakh crores. You've got artificial intelligence, better medical facilities being given with the help of artificial intelligence. You've got a Kaushal Vikas Kendra that has been promised in Noida, which will have 10,000 young people in it. You have got 4 factories of Godrej already working. Another factory in Barabanki has been promised. Lodha Group has promised housing projects in Varanasi and Gorakhpur and Ayodhya. Seems to be pretty okay for somebody who wasn't looking very modern. Mr. Sharad Trivedi.
Well, I think I would just like to add to the previous discussion one thing that the so-called epitome of modernism, which is England, I think the head of the state is wearing skirt. So I think the Congress should lead from the front, and Mr. Rahul Gandhi should be advised to start wearing skirt in his Padyatra from now onwards. How crazy can these things go? Mr. Yogi is the most modern chief minister that we have had till date. There were 4 chief ministers who did not visit Noida because they thought that the moment they enter Noida, they had a superstition that they'd lose their job. He has visited Noida almost on a monthly basis. The delivery, he has delivered what the UP was waiting for 65 years. We have had the largest number of road building projects in Uttar Pradesh. We had 6 expressways, we have had 10 metros, we have had 7 commissionaries in Uttar Pradesh, we have had the largest land reclamation project and land acquisition project in the history of Uttar Pradesh. We have had 43 lakh houses being built and more toilets being built in Uttar Pradesh than the population of Delhi. We have had 1 crore 60 lakh gas connections, 1 lakh 60 crore power connections in Uttar Pradesh.
Okay.
This is the breakneck speed at which the Uttar Pradesh is working. We have Uttar Pradesh has reached from 16th position to the 2nd position in ease of business. We are the 2nd largest economy already. This is the level of development which is so-called backward and a less modern chief minister has done.
Lokesh Jindal.
It's shocking that the way the opposition
Modernity
is going
is a way
into
of life.
Conclusions.
Sir,
Just like poverty.
let me correct you.
Ideas.
Modernity is a
modernity
way
is a
of
way of
life.
life.
Modernity is a way of life whereby all aspects of right and wrong are determined by a person's own intelligence and rationality rather than relying upon some form of a scripture or external authority. Man emancipates himself from his own self-imposed darkness. That's what modernity is. A modern person knows what's right, what's wrong. He does not wait for an external authority like that of religion or scripture. Now, when I'm talking about this modern nation state or a person like Yogi Adityanath, okay, fine, whatever is his personal belief system. But when he is working in the capacity of a chief minister of the state, now let me tell you, all the investment that is coming, it is based upon modern principles of rational analysis and investments. Now over here, you cannot simply become the epitome of a conservative society, trying to do Havan, trying to preach all forms of conservatism. So you want a modern economy with a conservative society. No, so you want a modern economy, with a traditional society. It's like having a Mercedes car driven by bullock carts.
No, it's not.
You really want a Mercedes car that is driven by a bullock cart.
This is
That's what is going to happen.
That if somebody is
When
doing
we talk
puja in the
about
morning,
society and
then they will not
economy,
know how
they
to
are
speak
intertwined
English.
with each other.
You can do both. You can do Havan and drive a Mercedes car. In fact, I'm pretty certain that a lot of people who buy Mercedes car do Havan once they get the Mercedes car home. How are the two related? Anyhow, if you're actually thinking of what a modern society, I actually want you to listen to what Boni Kapoor, the film producer, today said about Uttar Pradesh. Listen in.
मैं कहना चाहता हूँ महाराज जी ने यूपी को क्राइम फ्री कर दिया
That is one big reason. One big reason why film industry feels comfortable coming to UP and shooting in UP. I have done 2 films there and I hope to do many more films. And I hope this journey of Maharaji continues and entire country takes a lead from him to make country crime-free.
Okay, I would think it is a modern society if there are people who are saying that Uttar Pradesh has been made crime-free. Lokesh Jindal.
See, Padmaja, crime, no crime, administration, but when I'm talking about the present context within which the statement is being said, you need, in a modernized economy, you need a modernized society as well. I mean, when a company is going to manufacture products, it is going to manufacture for the society. So a society, when it becomes modern, rational, enlightened in its outlook, it is able to become the base on which the economy sets itself into. You cannot think of having a progressive, modernized scientific economy with working with machines and industries, and you can have a society that is still based upon dogmatic belief system, whose demand behavior, all forms of decisions are based upon certain dogmatic scriptures. It goes hand in hand.
First of all, just because belief systems are there doesn't make them automatically dogmatic, and people can have a modern belief system and still be acutely religious at the same time. And that actually is what sets India apart, that the two are able to very comfortably coexist. Or as you said in the beginning, that you can have a Mercedes and you can still be doing a yajna in the morning. Thanks very much, all gentlemen, for joining me. Today, for the first time, Times Now has accessed the original complaint filed by the 70-year-old lady who had a harrowing experience on an Air India international flight from New York to Delhi in November last year. The letter addressed to Air India chairman details how she watched in horror as a man unzipped, flashed her, and then urinated all over her and her belongings in business class. And after all of this, he was allowed to walk away free. No accountability whatsoever. Even as we speak, 40 days since this disgusting incident, Shankar Shekhar Mishra is still untraceable. While the trauma of that fateful flight might haunt this lady forever, all Mr. Mishra faces right now in terms of a punishment is being put on a no-fly list for 30 days, a reprimand lesser than what some get for a mere heckling of their co-passengers. To understand the gravity of the criminal dereliction, hear what the lady has said in her complaint and wonder why the pilot, the crew and Shankar Shekhar Mishra should not be held criminally liable.
A male business class passenger seated in 8A walked to my seat completely inebriated. He unzipped his pants and urinated on me and kept standing there till the person next to me tapped him and told him to go back to his seat. Then he staggered back to his seat. I immediately got up and notified the stewardess. My clothes, shoes and bag were soaked in urine. The crew spread sheets on the seat, but it was still damp and reeking of urine. I refused to sit there. The crew told me that the pilot had vetoed giving me a seat in first class. I asked the staff for a change of seat, but was told that no other seat was available. I told them that I wanted the man arrested immediately. After sobering up, the crew brought the man to me. He started crying and profusely apologizing to me, begging me not to lodge a complaint. He said he is a family man and did not want his wife and child to be affected by this. I was made to confront and negotiate with the perpetrator of this horrific incident in close quarters. In my own shock and trauma, I found it difficult to insist on his arrest or to press charges against him. After deboarding, no one came to take down my complaint. I waited for 30 minutes and left. Air India crew was deeply unprofessional and there are also a number of failures. I emailed the complaint to Air India on 27th of November, but they have not acted yet.
You're watching the News Hour at 10. Debate number 2 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
I'm sure anyone who has ever taken a flight, whose parents have ever flown, are all outraged. You all know the details by now. But we need answers to certain questions, and which is why we have a panel of experts, people who know the aviation industry inside out. Pervez Damania, former executive director of Kingfisher Airlines; Devesh Agarwal, chief analyst at BangaloreAviation.com; Zulfikar Memon, lawyer; and Vayan Sharma, aviation expert. Mr. Damania, I want to start by asking you, when something like this happens on board, what is the process? Who all would have known? So this lady, she wrote a letter. Who all within Air India and the Ministry of Civil Aviation or the DGCA would have known that this is what happened on the New York-Mumbai flight?
First and foremost, I think the protocols that should have been followed on the aircraft were not followed. The air hostess should have immediately informed the captain. This person should have been isolated, put in a way that he could cause no harm further to any other passengers. The ATC should have been informed by the captain, and as soon as the plane landed, the BCAS, which is charged of the security, or the police should have been there at the gate and arrested the man immediately, and then started prosecuting him in whatever way possible. The air hostess should have made a report, which is made after every flight. It should have been shared with the captain and gone to the company. And from the company, it would have gone to different people. And is this serious? It could jeopardize the safety of the passengers. That is why it was important for the company to inform the DGC of this flight. Because this would require this man to be on the no-fly zone and no-fly list, and that no-fly list is controlled by the DGCA. It was very imperative that the DGCA should be informed. Now, according to what I understand, the Civil Aviation Minister said that he came to know this a day or two before. That definitely means that the matter has not gone to the DGCA and Ministry of Civil Aviation. Another thing, the person has flashed. So he has not only committed a crime against this lady, but also to other ladies in the business class, also to the air hostess. So I think apart from this lady, any passenger who's been offended by this act could have filed a complaint. So I don't think, and another thing, the captain is the final authority on any aircraft. So the captain is in full power to allot the seat of a first class to anybody desires. And this is an extreme condition, an extreme harm has been caused to this lady. She has been traumatized very badly. So I'm sure that she should have been given a first class seat. She was made for us to sit in a crew seat, which is a jump seat, which is a very tiny and a highly uncomfortable seat. First of all, she's 72 years old. She's gone through this terrible trauma and shock. No other passengers came to help except the gentleman who was sitting next to her, who asked this man to move. And then another thing, how could they even have the idea of bringing this man again in front of this lady who's already traumatized to create a compromise? It is not in the right of these crew people to do a compromise. They should have just followed the protocol, informed the police and got him arrested.
So
either the airline and I am surprised that a company like Tata's,
Yes, so just a second.
It's such a customer-friendly company. The Tatas have always cared for the customer.
Exactly, and it's not about the company as a whole, but the crew in particular, and which is why I want to address each of these issues one by one, Devesh Agarwal. Number of important points raised by Mr. Damania. Simple question to you is, can the crew be booked for criminal offence? Not just about dereliction of duty, but a criminal offence, given that what happened to this lady was a crime. She was flashed, she was urinated upon, she was harassed. Devesh Agarwal.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. See, it's like this. What the crew did was a dereliction of duty. They have not really breached a quote-unquote criminal code of the Indian Penal Code. What they have done, and there are multiple rules. There is a thing called the Rule 22, the Rule 23 of the Aircraft Rules 1937, which is the governing set of rules under which all civil aviation operations in India are conducted. Similarly, India is a signatory to the 1975 Tokyo Act, It is actually codified in the Indian laws in the Gazette of India. These are very clearly defined that if a passenger does this, if the passenger is endangering an aircraft, there is a set of categories, category 1, category 2, category 3, category 4, at what level of disruption a particular passenger has caused. And the crew is obligated at the end of the flight to file an incident report. I was rather shocked when I read that the crew made a claim, oh, we thought the matter was amicably resolved. It doesn't matter. You are obligated by law. My question is, one, to the management of Air India, and as I said, it could be a legacy of all these years of government and unionization at Air India that, the crew has become sort of indifferent. But I would ask the current owners of Air India what are they doing to enforce the rules and laws of the Republic of India, their own procedures, furthermore international agreements. Similarly, I would ask the same question of the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security and the Minister of Civil Aviation, that this matter is more than 40 days old. They have only woken up after this matter has reached the media, and I have to give credit to the media that you all have raised this issue. But my question is, why is there not a culture already in India that the moment a person commits an infraction, action is taken? I recall in 2009 when, a lady who was part of the Guinness family, Miss Claire Irby, she decided to have a mile-high romp in Kingfisher Airlines flying from Bangalore to London. And the moment she landed in London, the police literally stormed on board, put her on the floor, handcuffed the man she was having a romp with, carted them both off to jail, and then produced them in court the next morning. Nobody, this is what rule of law is all about. Why is the rule of law not being enforced? It's a simple question I have from all the people in charge. The people at the airline, the people at the ministry, the people at regulatory agencies. What are you guys doing? Why are the rules of law? The laws are already there, the rules are already there. What are you doing? Why are you not enforcing it?
So Mr. Mishra, definitely he has a lookout circular against him, but Zulfikar Memon,
I'm sorry, just to answer your question, if I was the government, I would take this crew and basically just de-roster them and basically remove all their flying rights, right from the captain down to the stewardesses.
Zulfikar Memon, why shouldn't that be done? And why hasn't that been done?
I'm sorry to use the word stewardesses, I meant cabin crew.
Well, Padmaja, a lot has been said. You see, can you hear me?
Yes, go on, Mr. Memon.
Yeah, see, honestly, I'm not supporting the crew here as such, but I think we must just step aside for some time and think, we must try and put ourselves into their position and try to understand this incident. Like this would have, I think that this incident would have even shocked them, and probably it would have been the first of its kind in their career. I'm not sure if they were equipped in any way to deal with a chaotic situation like this. Nowhere defending them, but this is just my perspective. I think we must now wait and see how the investigation is conducted. All of these aspects are going to be played out in the investigation. I have mentioned this earlier on the show that what is being projected regarding the 30-day ban as far as the airlines concerned is not the correct picture. Let me once again bring it to the kind attention of your viewers that the 30-day ban by the airlines is not the final verdict. And the punishment imposed on this Mr. Mishra, whoever it is just interim.
So with the greatest of respect, I am a lay person, but isn't the cabin crew trained exactly for this? To handle situations which happen once in their career. A hijacking is also a once in a career event. But that is exactly why you undergo training, so that you are able to deal with that once in a career event.
Cabin crew. No, all of these things are going to be brought out at the time of an investigation as to how it has been said here that they should have reported it. They should have reported it regardless of the fact that they thought that there was a settlement.
I think Mr. Damania is responding to you, to your argument that it was a shocking thing for them, Mr. Damania.
Zulfi, Zulfi. No.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with that.
The air hostess go through a very rigorous training. The air hostess undergo very rigorous training program. At the end of the training, they appear for an exam, and every year they attend a refresher program. So they are put up to speed to all these emergencies and are trained to, okay, another thing, let's put it this way. This was a big aircraft. The air hostesses working in the business class are always senior to handle these kind of, business class and first class passenger. So they were not young girls just recruited 6 months or a year ago. These must have been very, very experienced air hostesses and who've gone through years and years of training and years of working on the aircraft. And some of these actions need common sense. They don't require a training. There's an old lady which is shocked that on the road or in a car. We would all go out to help her. So some of these matters are of common sense.
Exactly.
So
I mean, no offense, but you know, even if I was a passenger and I saw a man urinating on a co-passenger, leave alone cabin crew, you would stand up and intervene and say what on earth is going on. You don't require any elaborate training for that, Mr. Memon.
No, can you imagine
this? Agreed, but didn't they try to do whatever best
Can you imagine?
No, they didn't. Nobody intervened. If you read the complaint, the only person who intervened in that time, that man was standing there, unzipped in front of her after urinating on her till a co-passenger tapped him and said, "Go away." Nobody from the crew stepped forward.
Probably the crew was not present at that time when this was happening. It's not. I find it very difficult to believe that
terribly embarrassing to speak about.
One minute. I find it extremely difficult to believe that the crew was standing there watching him urinating on a passenger doing nothing. I don't think that would have been possible. All of these things will
even if they were not standing there, it's more worrying if they were not standing there.
Sorry, sir.
Because if you have a passenger being harassed, if you have a passenger being practically molested, and the crew had no inkling, that's even more worrying.
No, but on the other hand, I believe that the aviation sector must come up with stricter rules in relation to how much alcohol should be served to the passenger on the flight.
If you don't mind.
Okay, Mr. Agarwal wants to quickly intervene. Mr. Agarwal quickly intervening, yes.
Okay. If I may, see, ma'am, it's very simple. There is a clearly defined procedure. If any incident occurs on board an aircraft, exactly how Mr. Damania said, there has to be an incident report filed by the CCIC, the cabin crew in charge, at the end of the flight. Under the Tokyo Convention, believe it or not, the captain of an aircraft is given practically the authority of God to ensure the safety of his aircraft or her aircraft and the safety of the passengers on board that aircraft.
And the passengers.
So the fact that the cabin crew, and I'm sorry,
the report comes later.
I mean, I have done, probably, no ma'am, just a minute, I was about to say,
why was the crew standing there?
If I was the co-passenger of that lady, I would have kicked this guy right in his private parts. I mean, how can somebody just tap this guy? I would have knocked the guy out. The crew has done nothing.
And the crew should have restrained him. Okay, Mr. Sharma wants to come in. Mr. Sharma. And also the primary question arises, who got this man so drunk? Because apparently he was completely inebriated and out of control, Mr. Sharma. How is that allowed on flight?
Let's just visualize this. This is a long haul flight. There is a man who's very inebriated. And you know how it happens after the dinner service is over, they dim the lights and normally the passengers go off to sleep, especially in the business class, they recline the seats and go off to sleep. This man, being blind drunk, tries to stagger to the toilet to relieve himself. He is so drunk that he can't make out that he hasn't reached the toilet and he just unzips and starts peeing at a passenger. Now that's one thing which happens. Now after he is led back to his seat.
No, what was the crew doing?
The lady, a 74-year-old lady,
this blind drunk
she
person was peeing on a lady?
The crew normally, ma'am, one sec. Normally, I think all of us have taken these flights. Normally, once the lights are dim, the crews normally take a break in the galley. They're not standing on 24-hour watch over the passengers, right?
But sir,
when it was reported to the
passenger
cabin
safety
crew,
when the lights are dim,
all that they did was they spread some sheets.
What if this was not a urination but a molestation episode?
Ma'am, may I finish?
Yes, go on.
May I finish? Can we see, nobody is defending this action in any way. There is no way anybody can defend this, right? But let's put this in a realistic perspective of what has happened. Once the crew is told, What they do is they put some sheets, obviously the business class is full. They should have, when they reported to the captain should have immediately given permission for her to be moved to the first class seat, which was empty. Apparently the crew comes back and said, sorry, the captain has vetoed the idea. And I'm wondering what kind of brain power was this captain exercising when he is appraised of the fact, and then he says, no, I'm not going to allow the passenger to move to first class. What kind of nonsensical behavior is that? And once this happens, after 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, when the guy sobers up a little, then the crew gets this person across to the lady and literally browbeats her into not making a complaint, which is so out of their purview. They should have immediately, like what somebody else said earlier, a message should have been flashed ahead that at the time of landing there should have been a reception party waiting for this gentleman who would have then dealt with him properly. All that they did was that they said, okay, fine, matter over, which is not how it works. So there should have been an incident report. All that they have done is, and I was speaking to some crew in the daytime, and one of the facts was, they said, 16 hours, 17 hours we've operated a flight. We know we make a complaint, then we'll have to spend 3 hours with the police writing out reports. So, there's a mental hesitation to making a complaint. How stupid can it be? How can you condone an action like this? Even if it takes you 6 hours after your flight to finish the paperwork.
Well, be that as it may, irrespective of what their reasons were, this has happened, and which is why action should be taken not only against this gentleman, and he should be taken off all flights forever, but the crew as well need to really answer and pay for what has happened to this 70-year-old lady. For sharing your experience with us, thank you very much, all gentlemen. Thanks for watching.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
Let's get it started, yeah, you know it's game time. Ain't no excuses tolerated while you can't grind. It's like you're on the job, you know that team.
Hello everyone, ये है बजाज की नई पल्सर P115 के
News Hour at 10.
In a big victory for Jain community's fight for Parasnath, Centre puts a stop to eco-tourism activities at the Shikharji site. The decision came after meeting with Jain community members. Tihar jail officials have lodged a complaint against Satyendra Jain, accusing him of abusing officials and using political power to intimidate them. Sukesh Chandrasekhar has released another letter against Jain, alleging that he had asked Sukesh to bury all differences in exchange for a ticket for upcoming Karnataka polls. Prime Minister Modi addressed the All India Water Conference, stressed on the use of technology like geosensing and geomapping for water conservation. Delhi LG has nominated Satya Sharma to preside over the mayoral election, while the Kejriwal government decided the name of Mukesh Goel for the post.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
इनकेस आप मिलेनियन वाली जनरेशन से हैं तो आपने शायद वो गाना सुना होगा, देखा जो तुझे यार दिल में बजी गिटार। सो कुछ ऐसे अगर आप मूड में हैं तो यहाँ पे ये गिटार की स्ट्रिंग्स टाइप दी गई हैं, एग्जैक्टली स्ट्रिंग्स नहीं है बट
Watching the News Hour at 10.
Nitin Gadkari inspected the progress of Bengaluru-Chennai Expressway, which is a 262-kilometer layout worth over 16,000 crore rupees. Union Home Minister Amit Shah arrived in Tripura and flagged off BJP's Jan Vishwas Yatra. PDP chief Mehbooba Mufti said more troops are being deployed in J&K because the situation has not improved, added that BJP failed to control the situation. Uttarakhand BJP has formed a 14-member committee to assess land subsidence in Joshimath after protests yesterday. Kashmiri Hindus have written letter to PM and Home Minister seeking intervention to ensure their relocation to Jammu.
The smartphone category in India is anyway popular, right? उसमें भी जो 20 से 25 हजार वाले स्मार्टफोन्स हैं वो और भी ज्यादा पॉपुलर हैं। शायद इसीलिए इन्फिनिक्स ने आज अपना 020 स्मार्टफोन लॉन्च कर दिया है। I have the smartphone with me right here और इसको आज करेंगे अनबॉक्स। Hi, you're watching Detain. This is me, Padmaja, and it's time for me to unbox this device और देखते हैं फोन में आपको क्या-क्या contents दिखाई देंगे। Let's begin.